Headlines.
The 2024 Patriots will make their preseason debut tonight as they host the Carolina Panthers at Gillette Stadium. Head coach Jerod Mayo said earlier this week, everyone who's healthy enough to play will play tonight. We've got pregame coverage here on the Sports Hub beginning at 4 o'clock, then kickoff at 7 with Bob Sosi and Phil Perry on the call. LA Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh won't be returning to college anytime soon. NCAA yesterday issued a 4-year show cause order saying while at Michigan, Harbaugh violated recruiting rules, engaged in unethical conduct. That ruling means he's essentially suspended from college football until 2028. Michigan was previously hit with 3 years probation and paid a fine over the violations. Red Sox dropping the final game of their series in Kansas City last night, 8-4. That pushes them back to a game and a half behind the Royals for the third wild card spot. Team announcing Tyler O'Neill's back on the injured list. He's got an infection in his leg. They recalled Emmanuel Valdez. Chris Martin also activated off the IL yesterday. Cam Boozer optioned to Worcester. Sox off tonight. They'll return to Fenway for a 6-game homestand starting tomorrow night against the Astros. U.S. Olympic men's basketball team takes on Serbia in a semifinal game today. That's a 3 o'clock tip-off. France takes on Germany in the other semifinal at 11:30. And the U.S. women's basketball team beat Nigeria yesterday to advance to the semifinals against Australia tomorrow. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Valvoline. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com. Get 15% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, now open in Raynham, Reading, and Braintree. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com.
Fred, hello. Hello. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Open him up with a football.
98.5 The Hub.
Bruins are back from the West Coast.
Cocaine and hookers. Yes. Na 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 na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch. When I asked her about the sides, brisket, I need another whiff. And then he talked about the banana pudding. Oh.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are the Toucher and Hardy Show. Ryan Johnston is in for Wallach, thank God.
It's been really good this week.
Yeah, it really is.
I would agree. I mean, Ryan has been good, but it's mostly, no offense, Ryan, with no Wallach.
Addition by subtraction.
There's just, a huge weight is lifted. He's got a heaviness to him. That's just, ugh.
There's that sadness you don't really get over the air. It's the sadness of his lack of introspection is sad. It's a man who lives very much on the baseline of life. Not a lot of deep thought from the Wallach man. A lot of Hallmark movies and baseball games in that house. By the way, we are in the Town Fair Stars Studios. You can always call us 617-779-0985. I don't know if I already told you. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And you can watch us on YouTube, which I'm told is a whole experience. Search 98.5 the Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe. And I should say you can probably that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram since Nicholas is working so hard on these videos. At Toucher and Hardy, and you can follow me at Fred Toucher and at Hardy 98.5.
There you go.
Is Hardy's handle over there. I'm only on Instagram because the Twitter gets me in too much trouble. After seeing Matthew Judon, did you see Doug Ellin? The guy who did Entourage?
No.
Oh, yeah. I gotta, because I befriended a guy on. There was a good Twitter page called Assistant to Doug, and it was a guy who just did mock scripts of Entourage. And he was from Boston but lived in L.A. I think he was in the movie industry. And I mentioned him on the air one time, and he's like, it turns out I listened to you on the radio, and we struck up an acquaintanceship. We mutual appreciation of each other. And Doug Allen, were you guys Entourage fans?
I watched, I think, one half of one episode, the one with who was the UFC fighter? Chuck
Liddell,
the
Iceman.
I watched like half of one episode with Chuck Liddell, and I found the show to be very low production quality and quite obvious in the jokes. And
I
not worthy of my
I hung
time.
in there for a few years.
I thought it was wanking material for not douchebags, but wannabe douche. It's like I want nothing more in my life than to be a douchebag, but I can't quite get there. But if but that was like their pornography.
It was aspirational.
Yes.
Well, I always said it was porn for douchebags. I mean, that's my line. I convinced Jimmy Norton that it was terrible, and every time I see him, he's
what's your line? Did I steal your line?
No. I just said it was porn for douchebags.
Oh.
That's what I always said.
Yeah.
And I eviscerated it one time, and Jim Norton happened to be listening, and every time I'd see him, he'd say, "Oh boy, like you ruined that for me." And
he liked it up until that point.
he thought it was fine. Like he didn't.
That's kind of where I was. Like,
Same
it was
with
never
me.
my favorite show, but it's like I watched it and it was good enough. And then like have since gone back and not like rewatched it, but it'll be on every once in a while. It's like, I really watched this.
Okay,
Like,
so
I was enjoying this at the time.
The first, I seem to recall, like the first season was an interesting concept. It was, fish out of water situation, right? And I didn't think, and I still bet you I could watch the first season. It might look corny, with like Turtles, like a super corny character, like, oh no, I got weed and hats. But the anything that's like, ooh, weed, like, all right, it's not that, it's less bad for you than alcohol. The worst thing you're going to get from weed generally is lung cancer. And then, let's be honest, that's probably not happening unless you smoke a lot. But anyway, then it got progressively douchier until like it hit like a place of no return. But Doug Ellin is the guy who wrote it, and I don't know how this got going. I saw this actually on that Boston Radio Watch Twitter page, I have to admit. This guy says, nothing you do will make you cool. Also, Entourage is a show about a-holes. And Doug Ellin says, cucks think Entourage was a show about a-holes. And a-holes. You're clearly both. I wonder if a VP candidate will be talking about anything you ever do in 20 years. Or will just be your family talking about what a cucky a-hole you are. Oh, yeah. Entourage was, and then so the first comment is Entourage was a show about male relationships that happened to be set in Hollywood with very rich movie stars, which is a very deep appreciation. I mean, that's a guy who gets it.
Best part of that show might have been that, I think, is what unleashed the world, the real Bob Saget. Is like he did a couple of cameos on that show, and he was like the most vulgar. He was doing drugs. He had hookers everywhere.
So
it was
had
like,
you not seen him do stand-up?
Yeah, it's like, that part of him wasn't really well known up until that point. And then like it was like, wait, you figure out this is like a parody of his characters. Like, no, this is closer to the real Bob Saget.
But I could put you in half-baked territory where it wasn't Bob Saget. That was where he was cracked out, and he's asking if he could perform on men for crack.
Right.
Uh-huh. How do you spell assistant?
ASSISTANT.
Okay. I can't find assistant for Doug anymore. ASSISTANT.
Sounds right.
All right.
So this Doug Ellin tweeted, I don't know, 6 days ago, and he's got a lot of followers. So I'm a little surprised this didn't get picked up more. He's got like 50,000 followers, right? He tweeted, feels like a major war is about to start and the media isn't talking about it. Oh, feels like major war is about to start and the media is ignoring it. What? 7 comments?
I'm guessing if you're following Doug Ellin on Twitter, you're probably not doing so for world events.
Like, Doug, everything all right? What war are you talking about? I don't know. Yeah, it kind of feels like that sometimes, but any specifics? Anything else? Oh, all right.
Yeah.
But I never even heard of Doug Ellin until you mentioned him this morning there. He's
the only reason I know.
So he must have done other things. I mean, it's like Entourage was obviously very successful.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to give you this a very quick page of script that assistant to Doug, the guy I thought was funny, did. This is the parody he does of Entourage. Exterior, some effing sick mansion in Hollywood. Night. This party's so tight. There are literally boobs as far as the eyes can see. Note to myself, cast Becky from the Nordstroms on Melrose, and maybe she'll give me a tug. The gang stands around a bar shaking hands with all the hottest celebrities. Mark Wahlberg, Paul Giamatti, and the guy who played Shooter McGavin. Drama. We did it, baby, bro. We are the kings of Hollywood. Vinny. True, but I'd just be as happy selling pizzas in Brooklyn. You do have to appreciate all the chicks I've slammed, though. Vince closes his eyes. There's a flashback montage to all the girls he's banged over the course of 8 seasons. The cashier at Lids when Turtle was buying a hat. Mandy Moore, the manager at the food court, Taco Bell, while Turtle was buying a hat, etc. This goes on for 22 minutes. Turtle shows up in a suit and no Yankees hat, like Clark Kent and Superman. People do not recognize him. Turtle. Guys, it's me. I've been doing some thinking. It's time to grow up. I'm starting a men's sock line. E. Wow, Turtle. That's all high and mighty of you, Turtle. Someone say hi. Turtle, like Chris Angel, effing sick magician, pulls a blunt from his sleeve and lights up. The Yankees hat magically appears. Ari runs towards the gang and throws a phone at some blind old lady. Everyone cracks up. That's Ari. Ari, hey, dumbass. Let's all do one last big effing group hug out. In the end, I suppose this isn't the end. It's just the beginning for these boys. Oh. Entourage changed the course of American television, will continue to, because people love boobs and movie stars, and this series had both. It had both.
I was mistaken. Doug Ellin has not done anything since
I was just going to say that. It was like I got to contravene you there a little, Artie.
He was
for a guy who wrote, created, and produced a successful series that went on for years and spawned a movie. He's done nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. Since the movie was in 2015, so we're coming up on 10 years.
Can I just bring up one thing that's on his upcoming list?
Sure.
Untitled Harriet Tubman project.
Oh, good.
Now I don't know how that fits into the Entourage world.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me tell you how it did. He was the screenwriter on Fat Beach, P-H-A-T, Fat Beach, and he also was a staff writer for Life with Bonnie, the Bonnie Hunt vehicle. So,
my goodness.
Once you write the film Fat Beach and you're also a screenwriter on Life with Bonnie, that gives you the chops to go there and do a Harriet Tubman biopic.
What do Harriet Tubman and the Red Hot Chili Peppers have in common? Well, Harriet Tubman was a heroine to slaves, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers are slaves to heroin. That's a Neil Hamburger joke, ladies and gentlemen.
That's good. That's very good.
When he does 5 minutes on just Red Hot Chili Peppers heroin jokes. Why did the Red Hot Chili Peppers record their album right across the street from the pawn shop? Well, so they could pawn their gold records to get heroin. All right.
Did you ever see Neil Hamburger in person?
No.
'Cause that must have been something. People
Yeah.
showing up for if he was just doing like 10 minutes one night at a comedy club.
Well, Faith No More had him open up for him.
Oh, I'm sure that went well.
And Faith No More, like, were playing big outdoor festivals, and they would go and they would have Neil Hamburger open up.
Oh.
And he's doing Red Hot, because you know the story of Faith No More and Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? So Mike Patton used to make fun of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Anthony Kiedis got all butthurt about it and kicked them off the Big Day Out Australia like festivals, which cost Faith No More a ton of money. So then Faith No More, Mr. Bungle did a show in Detroit on Halloween where they dressed up as the Red Hot Chili Peppers for the entire show and just made fun of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. A video went viral. Anthony Kiedis got even more mad, so they kept blackballing Faith No More. So Neil Hamburger went on tour with Faith No More and did that 5 minutes of Red Hot Chili Pepper heroin jokes before their set everywhere they played. Yeah, Anthony Kiedis is not a good guy. He's really not a good guy.
I always wondered when, there's the videos of Chad Smith doing the, stuff with Will Ferrell because they have an uncanny resemblance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think Chad Smith is amused by it in a couple of those videos. Like,
Really?
how can you not be? You guys look so much alike. And he leaned into it a time or two and did bits on, I think, Conan O'Brien or something. But there's another video or two of him out there, he seeming kind of pissy about it. Dude, so what?
I always got the impression that Chad Smith's a little bit like Michael Anthony from Van Halen. I always got an impression that he's like a Midwest guy. I know Michael Anthony's from California, but he's from Birmingham. Like that, he's just
Home High School.
He's just kind of like a nice, he gets along with everyone. Because I'd imagine being a new member in Red Hot Chili Peppers and sticking around during all the Frusciante and being in a band with Flea and Kiedis, and then being in a band with Dave Navarro on top of that, and John Frusciante on top of that you have to be pretty easygoing to kind of go with the flow and stay in the band that long.
Deal with all that. And everybody recognizes, Frusciante, even Navarro, for what they could do. And everyone, I think, recognizes Flea as a musician. But I think Chad Smith got overlooked sometimes. And if you break down I heard this thing that Rick Rubin was doing about the drums on a song that I don't even like, Breaking the Girl. But at a time when every backbeat to a rock song had sounded the same essentially for 30 years, they did something different. And Chad Smith's I'm just going to do this song filled with triplets and fills, and it's not your standard 1, 2, 3, 4, the bass on the 1 and 3, snares on the 2 and 4. And they did something different, and he actually pulled it off. I think he might be a better drummer than he gets credit for.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not questioning his drumming at all. I bet he's a really good drummer. But I'm just saying, in that band of because again, Kiedis is incredibly untalented, and also from everything I've ever heard about him, a huge dick.
Yeah, he is the standout untalented one in that band, no matter what the configuration is. I mean, Navarro was.
Well, Navarro's just hysterical.
Navarro's hysterical, but that dude could play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, to get along with that band and be in that band for as long as 30 years, that's a pretty impressive feat. With those guys and touring the world, that's pretty impressive to stick around that long.
You have to be pretty even keel to roll with a lot of punches.
Yeah, and think about Michael Anthony. He was in a band with David Lee Roth and then the Van Halen brothers, who were speaking Esperanto with one another. And Alex Van Halen is one of the biggest pricks on the planet.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, and so I mean, and Michael Anthony, by all accounts, was this really nice guy, and they screwed him out of all his money for his. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Michael Anthony. In fact, I've never heard anyone say anything not glowing about Michael Anthony. Even people that didn't like the guys in that band.
Well, and no one said anything bad about David Lee Roth for years until he set race relations back in this country 40 years with his radio program, and had his black bodyguard that he referred to as Animal, and that was unfortunate.
Oh, you know he didn't mean it that way. How dare you infer that?
Listening to that show for those few months, oh my word.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my word.
And it took forever to find there was no trace of him at BCN.
You know what? That's something we could go back to next week. We only did, I think, the opening show.
Yeah, we could go. I'll definitely do that. I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do it tomorrow. Take a little break from the Patriots.
All right,
very good. What happened last night? Red Sox, Kansas City. As Hardy said, there's a preseason game tonight. We'll get all to it. we're Toucher and Hardy, everybody. Hello. Hope you're having a wonderful morning. Or if you're listening to us on the podcast, congratulations on your wife having the child. All right, what's going on, Hardy? You tell me.
Well, the Red Sox had taken the first 2 out of their 3-game set with the Kansas City Royals, found themselves just a half game back from that wild card spot. In Kansas City last night, Kansas City said not so fast.
Fastball lifted deep to center field. Rafaela sprints back. Still going. It's out of here. Bobby Witt Jr. demolishes his second home run of the game. A superstar this season.
Oh, boy. That's the Royals TV call there as Bobby Witt Jr. Knocked 2 home runs out last night. It wasn't always like that, though. I mean, Romy Gonzalez gave the Red Sox some hope there in the third.
Romy pulls it in the left. Struck well. Melendez back. And that ball is gone. Romy does it again. It gives the Red Sox the lead.
Yeah, they did have the lead 3-2. As a matter of fact, they would be up 4-2 in the fourth, but things got away from them. Cutter Crawford, what happened?
I dug myself into a hole, and even a couple of my, I did get ahead, and they fouled off a bunch of good pitches. They grinded me out, but yeah, at the end of the day, I can't walk 4 guys.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
You're a professional pitcher. Come on, get with it.
You can't do that, Cutter.
No.
Cutter Crawford on his night was 3 2/3, allowing 6 runs on 5 hits. And Alex Cora, unusual? Usual?
4 walks, something he doesn't do. And then the last 2 hitters, he had an 0-2, right? He had with 0-2, hits double down the line, had the leadoff hitter 0-2. He wasn't able to put him away. Great at bat by Melendez. He was 0-2 a lot.
Okay. Well, that's not much consolation as you had a chance to overtake Kansas City there last night. But there was some good news as Trevor Story spoke yesterday, Fred.
Feeling really good, man. Really happy with how the shoulder's responding. So it's been smooth, and I'm, it's a testament to all the hard work we put in and being patient with it early. So, yeah, swinging, really no reservation in the swing, so I'm happy about that.
I know there's no guarantee that you can get back this year, but even having that as a possibility, what has that done just for your mental state?
Oh, it's huge. Early on, it was, in my mind, it was done. The season was done. And sort of have this kind of be a possibility, like you said, is a huge thing for me mentally. We have a good shot at it, so I feel really good about it.
Do they want Trevor Story back? I mean, what is he someone who's going to come after he's been gone all season, come in and just start playing?
That would be difficult, I would think, but if they truly believe that they have a chance, and Alex Cora talked about this in the last couple of days, how he thinks the team as they are currently composed and comprised could win a World Series if they just need a little push. Is Trevor Story, is he gonna help more than he's gonna hurt? Maybe they think he can.
I mean, can you play him every day in the playoffs if he hasn't played all season long?
Yeah, you'd like to see him get back in there for at least a few weeks before the end of the season and make sure he's good to go if you're going to put him on the postseason roster.
That's just it. I mean, it's like you see it at the beginning of seasons when the pitching's always ahead of the hitters, right? And the hitters are always trying to catch up. He's going to be in that same position. Now, pitching, as some guys are coming into their own, others are falling off. They start to wilt a little bit, just like some of the bats do in August. But for Trevor Story, is he going to, suffer the same type of struggles that you see batters struggle through in the early parts of the season? Because that's essentially what he's doing, ramping up and trying to get used to major league pitching again.
Are they better with him out defensively, or are they better with him
defensively?
In?
I think they're better with him in.
I
think that's the difference. Is he could give you a little bit better glove.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's like a huge story if he comes back, but maybe I'm wrong. I do know that. Look, they took 2 or 3 out of that Kansas City series. They're a game and a half out of the wild card, and if they make the playoffs, as was evidenced last year, they could make the World Series. It would not be unheard of for a team like that to make the World Series. I'll give you the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. The fact that the Diamondbacks were in the World Series last year just shows you. I believe the Diamondbacks probably at the beginning of August might have had a losing record last year. And then they snuck into the wild card. They got hot at the end of the year. They snuck into the wild card, and then they, went off and think of all those great teams in the NL too, the Dodgers, the Braves. I mean, there's the Phillies. I mean, you had good teams in the NL, and Arizona was able to navigate through that. So if you make the playoffs, that's the great thing is if you make the playoffs and you get hot, your pitching gets a little hot, and you don't need, your starters get hot, and then next thing you know, you're in the World Series. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
you were right, by the way, Fred. The Diamondbacks were sub 500 in mid-August.
Yeah, and then they went, and then they got very hot. And that on paper last year, I don't think was a great team, but they're good this year. But I don't know how great a team that was last year on paper. But that's just me going off the top of my head. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't have the answer to all your questions.
Red Sox have the night off, and then they'll be home. They will face the Astros for a weekend set starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, this is another big series, obviously. The Astros are, they're on the come. So this is another big series. If they win this series, then it shows you that they beat Kansas City as a playoff team, and they beat Houston that's going to be a playoff team, and there you go. Then you've just taken a series from two playoff teams.
You would have taken 4 straight series after losing those first 2 out of the gate after the All-Star break, and yeah, it shows you something. They've managed to find their way back.
Yeah.
Fred,
yeah.
Your precious University of Michigan Wolverines.
Oh, I love them.
You kind of do. You spoke more about University of Michigan football and a certain quarterback there that you're trying to convince us of pre-draft it bothered me more than I let on. Okay, I thought it was a low-level troll job on your part.
What did I said that JJ? Well, all I said is what people had told me, that JJ McCarthy was going to go high in the draft, and that you wait until after the season he's gonna go high in the draft, and what they told me was right.
Yeah, but
I didn't say I liked them.
No, you seem to take a little bit of joy in it, and I took it personally.
I get so little information, Hardy. Whenever I can relate information someone else told me and make it sound like I know something, I'm going to take advantage of it, regardless of your affinity for what.
Don't we all do that? I know I do.
Oh, certainly.
One guy tells me one thing 2 years ago. It's like, I heard not long ago that so-and-so's a real piece of crap. And I'm just holding on to that as my one bit of information that I've received.
Well, it's funny because with the Michigan teams, if I go back to Detroit or something, I'll be talking to people and, I'll end up talking to people, and I know a couple people do the radio out there and sports radio, and then I'll da-da-da-da-da, and they'll tell me this stuff, and then I'll hear people talking on the air here in Boston talking out of their butts about not knowing what the hell they're talking. They're saying the opposite of what's true. So when I can go, well, listen, everyone who watches this kid on a regular basis and talks to people in the program and talks to people around the NFL is saying that he's going to be a high first-round pick. Because at the time, if you'll recall, they were projecting him maybe even to be a third-round pick.
Well, what did your long-distance lover there in Detroit Sports Talk Radio tell you about the NCAA announcement yesterday? A 4-year show cause order for Jim Harbaugh, impermissible contact with recruits and players while access was restricted during the COVID-19 pandemic. He is banned from college athletics until 2028.
Well,
Don't even think about coming back, Harbaugh.
Yeah,
you can't.
He's the coach of the Los Angeles Chargers NFL team.
Oh.
So this is brutal for him. So this is a worst-case scenario for Harbaugh. You win a national championship at your alma mater, then you get out of Dodge and go coach an NFL team, and they're like, hey, buddy, don't you bother coming back for 4 years.
The Chargers gave him a 5-year contract worth $16 million a year.
Yeah, if Northwestern,
I don't know how he's going to survive on that.
Yeah, if Northwestern comes calling, good luck.
You know what? Michigan was already here on a 3-year probation with a fine for recruiting limits and had negotiated some kind of resolution. But, You know, they're just putting the hammer down now. Sounds like this Harbaugh is recidivist.
Well,
repeat offender.
Harbaugh didn't go along with that. Like that,
that's
that
right.
was
He
the
said,
school,
I reject
the school
your
took
3-year
the penalty,
probation.
and Harbaugh went, I didn't do nothing.
Right, and it had this long statement. It's, I don't lie, I don't steal, I don't cheat, and I raise my family the same way. Next question.
Yeah, he cheats a lot, and he's a big cheater. And the next step would, I guess, would be
tucks his sweatshirts into his khakis. That is unforgivable.
See, I think he does that now as an affectation. Like it's like wearing a cape or a monocle. Like he's doing it for attention. The thing is that I hope for the sake of Michigan fans, that they don't make them vacate that title, because look at what it did to the they took away all those Fab Five losses.
Yeah.
And that team's a disgrace.
So now no one ever talks about him.
No, it's like it never happened.
That's right.
It didn't take over the zeitgeist.
Five.
I was at
a bunch of guys who never won anything.
You know, it's funny.
I love the Fab. You didn't like the Fab Five?
Of course, I didn't like the Fab
But you hadn't gone to
Five.
Michigan State yet, have you? Oh yeah. You're a little bit older than them.
You know, I was at the 1996 Final Four.
Yeah, Weber was 2 years older than me.
I was at the 1996 Final Four, and I could have sworn that I saw the University of Massachusetts play, but I've been told that I did not. That there was actually Kentucky actually got a bye in this national semifinal. It was a weird deal.
Oh, that's right, because Mazz had to vacate those with the Canby team.
Yeah.
I think Juwan Howard is the only guy on that team who ever had a championship in anything, and it was as a bench player with, God, who was he with? Like
are you counting high school state titles?
No.
Because Jalen Rose and Chris Webber have quite a collection of them.
I think it was the Miami Heat. Juwan Howard played 4 minutes in the playoffs, and he was the only one to win anything. Oh, they're Fab Five.
The Fab Five was cool, but I didn't go to Michigan State. I had no affinity for Michigan State at the time. Now I really don't like Michigan. Ever since the hairy-legged lady hit
All
on
evidence to the contrary.
I had you over when Michigan State was in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Years ago. I love Michigan. I'm going to the Michigan State BC game. I've already have my friend with the season tickets. I'm already in. I like Michigan State. I don't like Michigan.
Thank you.
But
I
the
like
Fab
their
Five,
coach. They shouldn't have got rid of their football coach, though. That's the problem with Michigan State. That guy, they did him dirty.
All right, so let's just tell the joke. What Hardy's saying is the coach that used to coach Michigan State
for like a year.
They listen to this. This is not, I'm not making any of this up. So there is a woman who has this terrible story about how she was gang raped by a bunch of football players at the university she went to. I don't remember the university. So what the Michigan State coach said, I'm going to have her come in and talk to my players so they realize, the long-term effects of sexual abuse.
And I believe the woman works in this field now, counseling teams and coaches, saying like, look, this is a huge issue still to this day, and here are the things to avoid, and you never ever want to put someone in this position.
And it puts a
work.
face. It's very brave because it's very hard for people who've faced sexual abuse to certainly even talk about, let alone to a group of strangers. So, and it's probably very valuable because she goes look, you might go I could get in trouble if I do this, but look at the human toll it takes. It's ruined my life. It's had this effect on my life.
Right.
So what the coach of Michigan State does is Mel Tucker, he goes, let me get this woman on the phone and I am going to masturbate while we talk. Because out of all, and he's 50, he's not, 21. He's a 50-year-old guy. So he says, I can't think of any other woman in the world that I could pleasure myself to on the phone, except the person I hired specifically for the purpose of talking how she was sexually assaulted brutally sexually assaulted by a college football team. I am going to be, as a college football coach, someone who uses this as an opportunity to pleasure myself.
Now, does Mel Tucker have any defense? Was he a single man? No. Was there any reason to believe that this was something that was not going to run afoul of his, 10-year, $95 million contract that he was only in the third year of? No.
Well, we're going to find out because it came out yesterday that Mel Tucker has filed suit against the university for wrongful termination.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess it's more like a George Costanza defense. Like, was that wrong?
Yeah.
Should I have not done that? Nobody ever mentioned that to me.
The only thing about it is just like as 49 years old, I can tell you it's not hard to not pleasure myself at any time anymore. When I was like 16, it was impossible. When you're 49, and Mel Tucker's older than me, I could be on the phone with anybody doing anything, and I wouldn't have to pleasure myself. And I would like to think that I would have. Look, I've talked like dirty to people on the phone. I'm not a single man. Like, I mean, some people like it, some people don't. If they
I didn't mind it.
If you initiate it, like, look, I'm down. It's exciting. But I don't have to sit there. But I could, realize like this is not the person to be doing this with. This is someone I hired for a very specific reason. This is a very bad idea. I would like to think that I would have that. I'm not against the dirty talk, but not in that situation. All right, we'll be back. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Dan, we're going to do old school here. I gotta have you pull up a song to come out of the next break with. I'm going to play it for Hardy. We were just having a conversation off the air. I'm going to tell you what it is right now. Harder Than You Think by Public Enemy. Harder Than You Think. It's about John Wayne Bobbitt.
Oh, Fred. That's not
ripped
what
from the headlines.
That's not what it's about.
Ripped from the headlines, ladies and gentlemen. The headlines of 1993.
Did you watch any Olympics yesterday, Fred?
I watched. I saw one thing. It was the first time I watched the primetime Olympics. To be honest with you, it's been on here in studio, and then I watched a women's volleyball game. But other than that, I hadn't. I saw the fella in the 400. The United States guy. Was that the 400 or the 200 where he came back?
400 was last night.
Yeah, where the fellow from the United States won. I saw the one where the guy from the United States won, and he started doing the angels on the track.
I was watching. I was having some trouble sleeping overnight, and at about 3:30 this morning, I flipped on open water swimming.
Oh, and there was some
2 hours of swimming in the polluted Seine. Congratulations, you've won a gold medal and hepatitis.
Yeah, and it was 10K, I believe, was the length of it. Yeah, open water swimming, which is part of a triathlon. Without the other stuff.
Literally 2 hours of swimming.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely brutal. But there was this talk about a swimmer had gotten sick from being in the river, and then they said no, that was a virus, it wasn't bacterial, and this, that, and the third. There was they had the mayor jump in there. He's like, let's splash around this bitch. Let's see what it does. Let's see what's doing. But that's my Olympic experience, Hardy. I haven't been watching a great deal. I've seen no gymnastics except for that Simone Biles failing. And then I saw no swimming. I've seen no basketball. I'm just applauding my ignorance. I've seen fencing. I've seen water polo. I've seen handball. But these are all things that are on when we're on the air. So go ahead.
Yeah. I did not watch any prime time last night. That was the first time. It has been something almost like, I don't want to call it comfort food, but it's nice that it's always on. And there's something a lot of times that's live, even though the primetime stuff has been tape delayed in some of these instances.
The primetime stuff is all replays because it's after midnight Paris time. But if it literally from the time you get up until like 5 in the afternoon, there's live events on all day.
You want to hear
on like 5 different channels.
You want to hear something that I was going to say without irony, and then I realized how bad this sounds?
Yes.
When I was walking my dog last night, I was walking the dog at like 9:30. I saw in the neighborhood a lot of people were watching the Olympics. Oh. That sounds very
Fred's
bad.
A peeper.
Yep. No, it's just like, like when something's glowing in a window and you look up and you're like, oh, that's the Olympics. But it does look like, I'm like, what are families doing? Hello, family. Are you going to have dinner tonight as a family? Oh, peeping. Let me in. Oh, yeah, that was the stuff.
Peeping.
What you watching on TV? When I was a kid, did you ever get the cable remote when they were all the same for every TV and then go to like the neighbor's house and start turning the channels?
No, but they did that in the beginning of Poltergeist, and it made the two neighbors very angry with each other.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
My wife's always we have a neighbor. We have this kind of field near where we live where we take the dog over usually to do his thing, and my wife will come back.
Pick it up?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. You have to. There's signs in the neighborhood.
All right,
it's like,
good.
just fine, potential fine if you don't. But we have a neighbor who apparently huge Celtics fan. If the Celtics are playing, he's always has the game on. Most of my wife be like, he's got the Celtics game on.
I've said something to my neighbor on a couple of occasions since I started this. Leaving for work in the morning, I'll see the TV on in his living room, and I'll say to him later that day, I'm like, "What were you doing up at 4 o'clock in the morning?" Well, I fell asleep. How do you know? I'm like, don't worry about how I know. I know.
He's passed out with a needle in his arm.
No, he's no longer using needles.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just sniff it.
It's a lot less addictive. So today, I guess we can look forward. It'll be another big track and field day. Noah Lyles is going to be going for the 100, 200 double as he participates in the 200-meter final. A couple fellow Americans will be in that race. Also, the 4x100 men's heats, there was some drama. Jamaica typically do very, very well. They didn't make the cut. They had a bungled handover, baton pass, whatever. So the U.S. team ended up winning its heat. But Jamaica not doing well in the 4x100, which was a shock to many people who were watching the Olympics. I wonder how Wallach is doing, because he's the biggest track and field guy I know.
Yeah.
This is what he was waiting for.
Yeah, he's got a sweatshirt and a hat about track and field. That's how you know he likes it a lot.
And then we have that he just bought on a boardwalk somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
U.S. plays Serbia. Is that tonight or today?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock this afternoon. I forgot about the last one because it was on at such a weird time. Don't forget today, U.S.-Serbia today. That is a semifinal.
Are you rooting for them to lose, either of you?
I think it would be funny.
Like
I don't have any investment in the U.S. men's basketball team.
I just told you I haven't watched it, but would you prefer they win or lose? That's my question.
You know what? With the Celtics that are on the team right now, I started thinking about this yesterday or the day before. They've been at this a long time. I mean, when you factor in Las Vegas and then where were they? Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, it's a time commitment.
And then London and now this. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world for them to get home and maybe start, thinking about next season. It wouldn't kill me.
So you would prefer they lose. How about you, Ryan?
I'm kind of lukewarm on the whole thing. I mean, they're just, they're such heavy favorites that it's just like, okay, if they win, they should.
Is it interesting?
If they win, they should win. If they lose, it's probably more interesting, but I'm not rooting against the United States.
I'm actively rooting against the United States in basketball.
Commie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got some literature you might be interested in about the proletariat. They're
been reading Pravda again, have you?
Yeah, well, listen. There's some good ideas out there. That
so many pamphlets.
I know. I mean, listen, I got some cigars and some literature for you. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Mike Felger and Tony Maserati got into it with our friend Mike Reiss yesterday. Mike Reiss actually seemed to be really annoyed, so we will have that for you in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the What? Reliable. And even relentless at times.
We're doing it live.
This is Boston's home for sports. WBZ-FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub.
A Beasley Media Group station.
Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots preseason begins tonight. They'll host the Carolina Panthers at Gillette Stadium. Of course, you can hear it right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Our pregame coverage begins at 4, kickoff at 7. Bob Sosi will be joined by Phil Perry on the call tonight. Head coach Judon Mayo said earlier this week, everyone who's healthy enough to play will play. LA Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh won't be returning to college anytime soon. Not that he wanted to, but the NCAA yesterday issued a 4-year show cause order against Harbaugh, saying while at Michigan he violated recruiting rules, engaged in unethical conduct. That means he is essentially suspended from college athletics until 2028. Michigan previously accepted a 3-year probation and paid a fine over those violations. Red Sox will take the day off. They dropped the final game of their series in Kansas City last night, 8-4. That pushes them back to a game and a half behind the Royals for the third wild card spot. Team announcing yesterday, Tyler O'Neill, back on the injured list, has an infection in his leg. Chris Martin was activated off the IL. Also yesterday, they recalled Emmanuel Valdez, an option Cam Boozer to Worcester. Sox will take on Houston for a 3-game series at Fenway starting tomorrow night. U.S. Olympic men's basketball team into the semifinals. They take on Serbia today, 3 o'clock tip, France and Germany. The other semifinal begins at 11:30. Women's basketball team beat Nigeria yesterday. They're into the semifinals to face Australia tomorrow. Headlines are brought to you by Dr. Matthew Lopresti and Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, the hair doctor of Charlie McAvoy at 1-800-GET-HAIR. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
Here we go. Boom. I win. Boom. Yeah.
It's a buddy. We've got a passion for Boston sports. Get angry. 98.5 The Sports Hub. You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Yo, Chuck, what's the move, man? I was on my way up here to the studio, you know what I'm saying? And this brother stopped me and asked me, yo, what's up with that brother Chucky D? He swear he nice. I said, yo, the brother don't swear he nice. He knows he's nice, you know what I'm saying? So, Chuck, I got a feeling you turning into a public enemy, man. Now, remember that line you was kicking to me on the way out to L.A. Lounge in Queens while we was in the car on our way to the shop? Well, yo, right now, kick the bass for them brothers and let them know what goes on.
Rolling stones of the rap game, not bragging. Lip bigger than Jagger, not sagging. Rolling backwards, I'ma leave it at that. That ain't got nothing to do with rap. Trying backs, expose those cats who pose as heroes, take advantage of blacks. The government's gangsters will cut the crap. A war going on, so we all know. Fight the power, cause they responsibility. F the police, who's stopping you from killing me? Disasters, fiascos, a loop by PE. Is the science that we believe in?
Have you heard this Public Enemy song before?
I have not. I would prefer it without the slapback echo on the vocals for Chuck D, though. That's a bit much.
See, I really like this song. I like the lyrics. I think everything. I like this song. I like the juxtaposition of the two. It's back to the roots.
I like it. I want a little less vocal effect. That's all.
You want to take that up with Hank Shock? You know what I'm saying? All right.
Gangster 20 years later, of course it does what consciousness faded.
James Stewart yesterday, as we are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe. James Stewart yesterday, I follow him on my burner account. He said, watch as Mike Reiss puts at Mike Felger and Tony Maserati in a body bag. I like that James does this. He's willing to be self-deprecating. It's not self-deprecating, but it's the show. I think that's a great thing about Felger and Mazz is that they as they are, all serious with these sports takes and everything, they do. James Stewart's not afraid to write. You can tell he has a wrestling background. But to my understanding, because I watched the entire video because it's very compelling, and we're going to play a small part of it here, is that this is my understanding. I'm not positive. I didn't listen to the show, but that they were talking about Mike Reiss had been on ESPN, and he made a report that the Patriots had made a big offer to Brandon Ayuk and that he had turned it down. My understanding is Felger and Mazz were saying, well, there's no way if they would have offered him a lot of money, he would have just turned it down out of hand. They're giving the AAV, average annual value of the contract, which isn't important. It's all about guaranteed money, and that Mike Reiss gets his information from the Patriots. That's the important part. So they saw Mike Reiss's report, and they said Mike Reiss gets his information from the Patriots. So then, again, to my understanding, Mike Reiss heard that and then called into Felger and Mazz and came on the show.
Okay.
And here is, I had Lockhart pull it. Here is, Ryan, you saw it too,
Yeah.
so you can feel free to chime in. Did I describe that correctly?
Yeah, it was more along the, it wasn't that he gets his information from the Patriots, it's that he was basically just parroting back what the Patriots side of this story was without fact-checking anything, without, just the Patriots were aggressively after Ayuk, but, like, did anybody else really think that? Did Ayuk think that? Like, that doesn't matter.
Right. Okay. So, but they were calling out that he gets his information from the Patriots and doesn't vet it.
Right.
Okay. And
he's basically a team spokesman.
So Reiss is,
which they've joked about before, like him being like the extra craft brother and kind of things like that. But
but if
this was a little bit different in his eyes, certainly.
And listen, Reiss was supposed to be Wallet. God knows why he's not. I mean, it would have been anything. It would have been anything would have been better. But he, what he did is, that would piss me off if I was Reiss. Like, it would. Because you could, make fun of him for being little, make fun of his, like, having to stand on a box. Like, all that stuff's, like, fair game. This, again, are the rules in my head.
It sounds completely opposite to how normal functioning society works, but I get what you're saying, and I agree with it. Like, that stuff doesn't hurt you professionally or really affect you in a meaningful way.
Right, but if I'm a reporter and you're saying I'm a puppet for the team, that's like attacking my credibility and could affect my earning power.
Yes.
So that would piss me off. See, again, I'm starting to realize I have these moral lines in my head that are way different than a lot of people's. I think that there's a lot of stuff that you should be able to make fun of people about because I get made fun of it. But I know where I would start to be pissed, and this would be it. If you question my credibility, if you said like I'm not good at my job because that could take money away from me, so he called in.
Michael Wenu not have any per game roster bonuses?
I think he's got like weight bonuses. I'll check on that, Mike. I don't have that off the top of my head, but so I haven't been listening to you guys, and I'm ready to fight if you want to fight. But listen, the thing for me that I get people texting me, tweets coming up in the notifications. I think the insinuation that bothers me is that you think, Mike, that this information is coming from the team. So you think that the team would tell me that and that I would go on SportsCenter and report that. And I have to be honest, Mike, I'm actually a little bit insulted by that, if that's true. I don't know if that's true because I haven't been listening, but
it's definitely how I feel. I mean, it's okay to have team sources.
And that's okay. You can feel that way. You can feel that way. But the fact that you think that I would go on SportsCenter on that platform and just say that based on something from the team, like that's why I wanted to call in. Mike, that you're creating a perception with listeners that that's the way this works. That's incredibly dangerous. Think about all the people involved in this. You have the agent, you have the player, you have 4 teams, but you are just going to narrow in that the team, hey, we're going to tell Mike this, he'll go out and say it. That's not the way this works. Like, that pisses me off because you've been in this position.
So, I mean, Mike's pissed, and he should be. I would be pissed, too. I would be mad. He's handling it a lot better than I would, obviously. He has that, like, governor on himself where he's still – I mean, I would be going ballistic at this point. But he makes a good point. He's saying, again, like you're saying, I'm not vetting anything with any other sources. He's like, there's 4 teams involved with this, with the Steelers. I guess Ayuk is going to the Steelers, but is what the talk is. But, there's Cleveland, the Patriots, the Steelers, there's agents, there's, Ayuk, there's the blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you're saying that I'm just taking the word of the Patriots and just recycling it
so
on this national platform.
In Felger's head, somebody with the Patriots told Mike Reiss, we've offered the most money. We're being the most aggressive. And Reiss went, oh, okay. And then went on TV and said exactly that.
Right.
And that's not fair. And it's not accurate in this case.
Oh, okay. I used to do it. They would tell me stuff and I'd report it.
No, Mike, you would check it, Mike. If they told you something, you would go check with the other side because that's the right thing to do.
Sometimes. Sometimes I didn't.
All right. So Felger is saying when he did it, when he was Scoops McGee, that he would just take what the team said and run with it.
He did say right before you cut that out. He did say after that it burned him a few times.
Yeah,
when
well,
he did that.
and I don't want to.
Which is why most reporters don't do it that way.
I don't want to tell tales out of school. I don't know how much Mike has talked about this on the air or publicly, but I think he was burned by an agent badly once, and so Mike is being honest in saying that. Yeah, I've done it. I've taken a one source story and ran with it and put it in print, which I don't know if that's better or worse. Back in the day, it was probably worse, to actually, put something down in a newspaper.
Everything in print's worse.
Yeah, still. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, still to this day.
Yeah.
And because there's no context to it and there's no, when you're talking, there's context and there's a bunch of stuff that's different about things. When you write, there's no debating the context. It is what it is.
Right.
And it can be repeated verbatim.
And there are different standards between what you put in a newspaper, whether it's the Globe or the Herald or whatever it is, than the standards that you and I have just sitting here having a conversation.
Oh, it's all the difference in the world. Yeah, we're not reporting. We're not the record of what's going on. When you're in the newspaper, you have journalistic standards that you're supposed to follow. We don't have anything. It's short of defamation.
Although I have heard this show referred to, Toucher and Hardy, as the morning edition of Boston Sports Talk Radio. So we do have a certain responsibility.
I've asked you a lot of times to jazz it up so we could sound more like Serial. Because I am the male Terry Gross, I've been told many, many times.
I've been told I'm the male Lakshmi Singh. So
you've outdone me. You've out-referenced me because I don't know who that is.
That's a Dennis Miller caliber reference. Totally over my head.
It's funny because every book I read and because so many authors have lived in Boston, like are grown up here, like just everyone. And it's always like there's always, if they're from Cambridge or like they live in the city, there's always references to them driving and they're about to get in like a drunk driving accident or something and they're listening to NPR. And I'm like, yeah, you are.
Of course.
Library people. NPR.
I like Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Wait. Don't tell me. Ira Glass. Oh, Ira Glass!
Careful. Don't start talking about Ira Glass. You must be a fan after he did the Oh Hello podcast.
That's the only reason I know who Ira Glass is that he did the Oh Hello podcast.
How dare you?
Well, you realize why they had him
This
on.
American Life?
You realize because those two characters that they're portraying would have been really into Ira Glass. That's why they had Ira Glass on.
I think it's because Ira Glass is the biggest name in podcasting outside of Joe Rogan and.
Oh Hello are two tote bag PBS upper West Side, liberal like quasi intellectuals. That's why they had Ira Glass on. They fit the mold. The bringing wine in a Ziploc bag and listening to PBS. That's exactly what they were. I do know that, but I think that was kind of a double joke that they would be if the dudes from Too Much Tuna or Oh Hello, Mulaney and Kroll, those characters were George St. Geelin. Were they if they were listening to the radio? What would they listen to?
Steely Dan.
If they were listening to music, but the radio.
Probably NPR.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, very good. Mike Dussault?
Yeah, Mike Dussault from Patriots.com.
He's your buddy of yours.
He is.
You book him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to come on. He's going to tell us what to look for tonight as we get into this preseason. We'll be back in just a moment.
Restrictions apply, subject to credit approval.
It's here. The prime rib dinner is back at the Nines. 16 ounces of slow-roasted USDA choice prime rib served with choice of 2 sides. Available every Friday and Saturday after 4 p.m. and all day Sunday. You gotta love the Nines.
We are Toucher and Hardy. Mike Dussault is a writer and content producer for Patriots.com and a friend of Hardy's who he worked very closely with when Hardy... You're not doing the Patriots games this year.
I am not doing Patriots pre and post this year. I mean, if they call to the bullpen and they need somebody, Deuce, I'll be there. But otherwise, well, you know what's going on there.
I appreciate it. It's a rough night tonight. I got to do this show without you, Hardy. I'm going to be a little bit sad. I'm not going to lie.
So is Perillo in tonight? Is he doing the Bob Studio thing? What's going on with Perillo in the game tonight?
Yeah, he's going to be in there with Brian Hoyer. So, and then, of course, Phil and Sosi will be doing it on the radio for you guys. And then the McCourties will be joining Zoe in the box. So it's a little bit of a new flavor this year in terms of the coverage of the preseason. So, yeah, it should be pretty cool.
All right. What? Okay, so when we look at quarterbacks, we know Drake May's playing. How do you expect the reps to be divided tonight? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, Mayo said everybody's going to play, so I think you'll see Brissett for maybe a series or two, depending on how long they last. And then, I mean, I'd love to see a big chunk of Drake May. I think this is what he needs most. Good chunk of the maybe first quarter into the second quarter, and then we'll see. Just every practice has been mostly Brissett and May, and then you get a sprinkling here and there of Joe Milton and Bailey Zappi. So I think both those guys need some reps too, but I think it's been clear in camp that Brissett, May, those are the focus. I wouldn't expect to see May for into the third quarter. I think they probably move on and give Zappi and Milton a chance. But I think that's the best thing for May is that he gets a good chunk of reps tonight.
How important is this game as a fan watching Drake May? Like, how much should we put in his performance tonight?
Well, I mean, I would say, of course, it's a preseason game, but I think this is kind of, a chance for him to show a little bit of what he can't show in camp, which is, breaking down, getting outside the pocket, making plays on the move. I think in camp, they've really been trying to, and correctly so, make him play within structure within the offense and, learn that. That's what he has to learn. But what we really haven't seen is live tackling or any of that stuff. So, May's athleticism, it jumps off the field. His arm on the move is excellent. So I think, it's been a process for him, getting going in camp. But I think this is a chance to actually see some of the things that make Drake May special, which are those, off-platform kind of things. And you've seen glimpses of it in camp. But I think those are the things that'll remind you, like, the talent that this kid has, even if he's still trying to, learn an NFL offense and really understand how to play quarterback in the league.
As you mentioned, this is the first chance we will get to see this team under live fire conditions. How concerned should we be about the health of the quarterbacks behind the offensive line?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, they're really banged up right now. I mean, Okorafor has been watching practice, for a while. We saw Caden Wallace get banged up a little bit. Even Calvin Anderson went down a couple. So, I mean, they're already banged up. I mean, there's a good chance they could go into this game with just 4 tackles. Of course, and when you can swing around, I don't think anybody wants to do that in the preseason. So I will say this, though. Look, the protection, at least with the first group and somewhat into the second, has been better. It's improved over the last couple of weeks, and, you're seeing pockets. So, at least as far as training camp practice goes, for whatever that's worth, it hasn't been like an abject disaster. And you're like, my God, they can't even run plays. Certainly, we have seen some of that in the past couple years. So I wouldn't be overly worried. But look, the guys got to get out there. They got to play. I mean, it's never going to be an ideal situation. So hopefully, line can hold up and protect those guys. But you got to like the fact that May at least has some wiggle, and hopefully he can get out if things get a little too hairy. He can escape the pocket and make some plays.
We haven't really talked a lot about Mayo and, what his coaching style is like and what it's been like through camp. How long do you think it'll be before we see what his style is and how he's suited to this job? Is it going to be in a preseason game, or we're going to have to wait till the regular season?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to wait till the preseason. But I mean, honestly, Hardy, I think like you're getting little glimpses of it now with like the Judon thing. And, Mayo and Wolf both said it like when they got hired, like everything's great right now. You get hired, it's, you have no baggage, you have no controversy, you have nothing to deal with. And I think that's when you really get a sense of, what kind of coach he's going to be is when the problems start happening and how does he deal with them? Like I said, you got a little flavor of it with Judon. I don't know where that situation is headed, but I think once you get into the regular season and the real bullets start flying and you have to see how he's going to adjust if the team isn't playing well. I think that's where you really start to get a sense of who he is as a coach. But, even for May and a lot of these new guys, everything's perfect right now. Like, there hasn't been a lot of problems. I mean, it's, of course there's, the ups and downs of training camp and that's to be expected. But, I think once the real problems and, issues start to pop up that inevitably always do, I think that's when you're going to learn a little bit more about what kind of coach Jerod Mayo is going to be.
All right. How has Joe Milton looked in camp? And then tell me about Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, I mean, Milton's got a cannon. I mean, everybody knows that. In the spring when we were talking about him, me and Lazar, it's like I said, I'm like, it'll at least be fun to watch this guy in camp. And, he certainly brings energy, but, the hard part is just they don't play that much. I mean, it's clear that it's a bunch of Brissett, a bunch of May, and then, all right, this time we're going to let Joe Milton get some snaps. I think it'll be really interesting to see Milton just – he looks great 7-on-7. I mean, he's got, like I said, he's got the arm and it's super impressive. But I think the thing with him is once you see a defense starting to throw something at him, that's where the processing kind of comes into play. So I'm very interested to just see him going against a live defense. And as for Zappi, I mean, as he's told you, he's won games in the league. I guess he's certainly going to be putting himself out there and trying to, send a message to other teams. But it's been such a limited sample size from those two guys. It's hard to really say like there's much there. I mean, clearly their focus is on Brissett and May right now and getting those guys ready. So a little bit of an unknown, but we'll see how they do against, again, you're going to be talking about the third offensive line at that point. It might get a little dicey for those guys.
All right. What about receivers? As it looks like Brandon Ayuk, they're out of that whole Brandon Ayuk thing, much to great controversy. Did you hear Felger and Mazz? They were really attacking like Reiss. Would that have pissed you off if they were saying that about you, that you didn't vet your sources?
Well, look, I have no illusion about being a journalist. I know I work for the team, man, and that's all okay. I'm not trying to dig stories. I understood Reiss's point and why he's defending himself, and I also, I get where Felger's coming from, and look, I'm a little disappointed they didn't get Ayuk, but I wasn't over the moon trying to like, oh my God, we got to do whatever we have to do to get him. But in terms of the receivers, I think Jalen Polk, to me, has been probably the most consistent guy, and that's a good sign for a rookie. We've seen rookies come in here and they get hurt and they can't really deliver. So, Javon Baker, everybody loves to talk. I mean, he makes splash plays. I just haven't seen it consistently in team periods from him. There's a lot of intrigue there. I mean, the guy is athletic. He's explosive. Love to see him start to string some things together. And then, it's hard to say. Thornton's had some good practices. KJ Osborne's had some good practices.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah.
Is Tyquan Thornton guaranteed to make this team?
If you asked me last week, I might have said, yeah, but then he missed a practice and, he's back, but he's still not fully participating. So, it's all those guys and, Rager and Booty and, that kind of group have all kind of made plays at times, but it's just hard to really discern like which guys are really going to make impacts here. So I don't know how much we'll learn tonight, but I certainly am really excited about the rookies. I mean, Polk and Baker, there's definitely something there and something for them to work with. And, you see them working with May a lot. So I do like that. And that kind of cushions the blow a little bit for Brandon Ayuk that, you didn't get that guy. Like, I just feel encouraged that that when these receivers are coming up, that the Patriots understand that they need them and they're making a push to get them. And clearly they haven't gotten them yet, but at least they understand they need that player. So it at least gives you some sense of optimism that they're going to be aggressive with those kind of guys.
Who else gets the looky-loo tonight? We're going to do the whole segment coming up at 8 o'clock. But, I mean, it's like, you're going to have your peepers peeled on a certain thing. It's got to be defense for you, dude. There's some like linebacker I don't even know is on the team. There's some safety that no one's ever heard of that you've really had you've really been watching so far. Yeah. Who is it?
Yeah, well, Jalen Hawkins has been a little bit popular in my ocular. Just there's been some injuries on the, on the safety group with, Pepper's a little bit limited. Josh Bledsoe is out. So I look at Jalen Hawkins, kind of an experienced guy, and, he just fits that mold of the safeties. And, I wrote a little bit about him this week. I asked Mayo about him, and he said, look, he's a guy who's going to play a lot. We really have to, see what he has. I think you look at the history of the Patriots defense kind of at its best when they got 3 rotational safeties. And I think that Hawkins could be that kind of more free safety, maybe complement Peppers and Duggar a little bit more, maybe free them up a little bit. I don't expect him to be, heavily involved in, playing most of the snaps defensively coming the season. But I think just that Deron Harmon kind of rotational piece, it just might enable Peppers and Duggar to really make more plays on the ball, play closer to the line of scrimmage. So he's one guy. And I would just say the cornerback group to me overall, after Jonathan Jones and Christian Gonzalez, it's really hard to tell. So the same thing as the receivers. Some of those guys have had good days. Some of them have not. It's, which guy's going to stand out on a particular day. So I think those guys have an opportunity tonight to kind of stand out.
So you're saying that you will have your peepers on peppers?
Oh, my peepers are always on peppers. Don't worry.
Do you have an automatic in with Mayo? I mean, are you identified as the defensive guy? And I mean that you're just always horning for the defense, even before that the team was going to be relying on it. And given Mayo's background, do you two have an automatic kinship?
I really don't know that, Hardy, but I will say, back in the day when he was just coaching the linebackers, that, you'd get those like Zoom sessions and they'd often be conflicting for the coaches. And sometimes he'd be going up against the offensive coordinator. Everybody's got to go talk to Matt Patricia or Bill O'Brien. So there were a couple of times where it's just me and Mayo like hanging out like, hey, what's up, buddy? So I always love talking defense. So I don't know what his awareness is of me and defense, but, I am excited to see how those guys do tonight.
Do you want one impossible Jaws trivia question?
I had a feeling it was coming, Hardy.
Okay, because you remember what it was last time, Fred. I asked him the name of the first victim in the film, the woman who goes swimming topless. It's a very ribald scene in the opening of Jaws. And Ryan Johnson, any idea what her name was? The woman who goes swimming and dies?
Like the actress?
No, there's just the character's name.
No, of course.
Deuce?
Chrissy Watkins. He knew it off the top of his head. He didn't even have to think about it.
Is that said in the movie? Or is that did you just read it off the credits?
I think.
Holy crap, I don't know.
During the autopsy, maybe? I don't know.
What? Christine Watkins. I don't know. Maybe it was written on a card or something. I don't know. My jaw's
take stuff out of her?
Yes. Yeah. So this is what happens.
This is what happens.
So this is because Deuce is also a musician. He plays a little guitar. He fiddles around. He's got you were in a band at some point. So this will be a test of whether this is super inside, super nerdy, and if you have perfect pitch. The two iconic notes in the Jaws theme.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
No, not that one. Just this one.
Let's
what
go,
two notes are they?
ED? No.
Dude.
I don't. You got me, Hardy.
You can go to Northeast Men's Health.
Fred.
It's on my mind, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you got, Hardy?
F and F sharp.
F and F sharp. All right. Well, I'm
yeah, if you were more F and sharp, we'd have something you did. There you go.
That's good. That's good. I was just. Thanks, guys. No, I was just going to say, I know Johnson's there, so I didn't know if you're going to throw me a USA ref hockey question. So that we can save that for next time.
He's also a hockey ref. He's multifaceted. This might do so.
Yeah. The Patriots.com's really got you running around, huh?
You got hockey ref experience, Mike. You should be calling the NHL. They could use a little bit of help.
I love it. Well, tonight's going to be tough though without Hardy. So I'll miss you tonight, Hardy. It's going to be a grind without you.
I'll be listening. I'll be checking in on you guys.
All right, Mike. We appreciate it. Patriots.com. He's got his list of players to watch tonight. Everything else. Thank you for the time, sir.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you.
Yeah. So Hardy's got a segment he does before the preseason games every year. We will do at 8. About what do you call it?
Peepers peeled. What you got your peepers peeled on tonight? Who gets the looky-loo?
Yeah.
Who gets the looky-loo, Fred? What's popular in your ocular, as Mike Dussault once said, or what's making you hornier in your cornea? What is it that you're going to be watching specifically tonight in this preseason matchup?
So we're sexually objectifying them.
No,
nice. I guess if that's the way we're doing things.
Would you rather do more autopsy discussion?
What? What did you take out?
Did it fit back in correctly?
No, you got to play around with it and get it all mixed up. Dark web, hello. I've procured a kidney and what appears to be a pancreas, but I'm not sure.
The only way to find out for sure is to taste.
And to play.
Along those lines, Fred, you must have been very excited at the Red Sox Twitter account last night.
Absolutely. They made what I thought was funny, but they were profiling someone who's very untalented. And so the whole thing just kind of devolved into crap, but we will have that for you coming up here in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
Well, as we were just talking about with Mike Dussault, Patriots preseason debut.
Toucher and Hardy. And I will tell you this much. It's all about running Twitter accounts now. And if you've been watching a series that was very good for the Red Sox. They they took 2 or 3 in their series with the Royals, who were just ahead of them in the wild card standings, and the Red Sox got very excited, and they put anyone who loves BDSM, Big Don Smith moments, is our friend and needs no without is our friend without introduction. Now, the worst thing about that tweet is our friend without introduction. I don't understand. I hate that social media cutesy way of talking. Go screw. Like, there's so many examples of it. Like that. Just say it. Be like Hemingway. Write the sentence. Share the thought. Don't. It's not funny. Like, you're being cute with your words. It's like a High and Lois cartoon just written out. Anyone who loves BDSM, Big Don Smith moments, is a friend without introduction. Just shut up. And so what is BDSM, you say? What is the reference to? Which is not offensive to me. I don't even think it's that bad
it's not.
It's not that bad, but it's a variety of erotic practices or role play involving bondage, discipline, dominance, and submission, sadomasochism.
I just wanted on the record that Fred is not even reading this. He just has it,
It's right off the top of his head.
By rote.
Okay, so BDSM is a variety of often erotic
often
practices or role playing involving bondage, discipline, dominance, and submission, sadomasochism, and other related interpersonal dynamics.
I've been bad, and I need discipline.
Given a wide range of practices, some of which may be engaged in people who do not consider themselves to be practicing BDSM, inclusion in the BDSM community or subculture often is said to depend on self-identification and shared experience. I can give you an example of BDSM. Would you like that? Since the Red Sox are having us explore it, and they're the local 9, so I will tell you.
I'm not stopping you.
Fat Mike from NoFX.
Yet?
Shut up. I don't need you babysitting me. I'd rather get fired.
Oh, okay.
I swear to God. Have you babysit me every day. Is Fat Mike from NoFX is very publicly into BDSM. In fact, he's shared photos of himself, and people have asked if he was okay.
So now you've talked about Fat Mike before, because I haven't seen like any live NoFX shows lately or any videos or anything, but he's gone like in a lot of different directions. He's done a lot of like cross-dressing stuff, and he's just out there exploring a lot of different stuff.
Yeah,
right?
He says that the movie Rocky Horror Picture Show changed his life. He said that he's always been interested in cross-dressing, and that he doesn't consider himself trans or gay. He just enjoys wearing women's underwear. And so like he's gone very public with that. And he's brave. He's normalizing these things, but he's also very into BDSM.
Yeah, he has a dungeon in his house.
Yeah, he's got. And so anyway, so what I was saying is that people have seen pictures of him and been like, "Are you okay?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, I just was with my mistress last night, and she was like rough, and it was fun." So he's on tour. I have a friend who's or a former friend. He doesn't talk to me anymore. I don't know why, but a friend that was in a band, because I'm telling all the stories on the air. But he was touring with NoFX. He was in a band that was on tour with NoFX. Fat Mike, at the time, was married to a woman named Soma, who was a dominatrix. And what would happen is Soma would fashion 2 clips to Fat Mike's nipples and then one down below. And then she would have a device that she would stand side stage with. And at random points, push a button, and it would send electrical shock through those things. And
that seems like it would be distracting if you were on stage.
Have you seen NoFX perform?
I have not.
It's kind of the part of the charm of it.
I can't say I missed them on tour.
Well, they're coming to Brockton. They're on the final tour. Were written about in the New York Times. They're playing huge venues. And it's kind of interesting because the three other guys in the band do not want this to end. But Fat Mike is very wealthy because he's a good businessman. But if you ever want to read a book, Ryan, that I assure you'll finish, it's Hepatitis Bathtub and Other Stories by NoFX.
And you say that's better than The Dirt?
It's better than The Dirt.
Wow.
It's written the same way. It's oral history.
Okay.
But it's way better because the guys in the band are talking about the same story, but some guys that are telling the story don't know what really happened, and the other guys are saying for the first time what really happened, and some of it's brutal, awful stuff. And it's really heartbreaking. The guitar player is telling this story. I'm not going to spoil it in case anyone wants to read the book. It's great. Like, you know how The Dirt is them doing drugs and like ODing and stuff? NoFX do all that, but then throw in like no money for a lot of it, and then also murders and huge fights, like assaults done to people that they loved. And so Eric Melvin's telling the story about a girlfriend, and he's like, woof. Thankfully, it didn't happen. And then Fat Mike goes, ba, 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 ba. Sorry, Melvin. So he's telling him that this did indeed happen, and it's not him having sex with her. It's something far worse. So there, you can read that. But anyway, so the Red Sox are saying, let's hop on this BDSM bandwagon. And, it's ball gag night at the park. Coming up very soon. And if you come fastened with a whip, do you have any of the Peter Gammons, by the way?
I'm not sure that we do.
A BJ Upton-like contract, which is $75 million for 5 years. Your thoughts?
If Scott Boras came to that, they might do it. But, I mean, they're interested. It's all... nobody's ever thought that Scott would let him sign here. And he's going to go out in the market. It's going to continue until February. So, I mean,
So if the Red Sox have a long history of BDSM, because that obviously was Peter Gammons disciplining the Gimp while he talked to us. That was an airy dungeon.
Get back in your crate, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I always pictured Peter Gammons on the phone, like casually just whipping his Gimp as he, hid and cowered in the corner. Do you have another one? There's a bunch of
great moments that I can remember in all these years covering it. But people cared so much.
That's Submarine Peter Gammons.
That's Submarine Peter Gammons.
Yeah.
One ping only, please.
Yes.
The great moments that I can remember in all these years covering it. But people cared so much about the other team.
He would always call. But I really always wanted to make some of a cartoon of that clip of Peter Gammons talking to us while he just lazily whips a guy in the corner.
Upset about calls and situations. When David Ross is behind the plate, he's so much more focused.
That's when the Gimp fights back.
I was going to say, sounds like a kaiju is rising up out of the water.
I mean, it was every week it was something else. It was just, and we were new, so I didn't have the balls to like call it out. I'm just like, let it happen. And then as soon as we hung up, we'd make fun of it, but it wasn't the bravest thing.
So anyway, Tuesday night, big play at the plate. Boston had challenged a tag play after Seth Lugo's wild pitch.
Tag play big in the BDSM community.
So the review showed that Dom Smith got in ahead of the tag.
Yeah, Dom Smith.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah,
he's dominating everything.
1-2. Bounced in. Caromed off the umpire. Smith takes off for the play. Dives. Out. Got a late jump from third. And Perez got it to Lugo for out number 2 for now.
After review, they're calling the field is overturned.
Wow.
All right, losing their minds over Dom Smith, so the Red Sox tweeted out what, Fred?
They said, anyone who loves BDSM, big Dom Smith moments, is a friend of ours without introduction. But I'm wondering if it's even more clever than I thought. because Big Dom, Dominatrix, BDSM.
Oh.
I wonder if it works on like a bunch of levels.
Yeah,
because I don't. The only thing that I found offensive about it was playing this garbage crew that they have doing the Royals series.
Well, all I know is that if I had composed that tweet, I would have been proud of it.
I would have been proud of it too.
That's a good one.
They took it down.
That's what you're supposed to do as a social media person. You look at it like big companies now are doing weird things on their socials because you can get away with it. It's social media,
if you're offended by that BDSM exists, but what do you care if people what do you care if people do BDSM? What is it of your concern? Don't do it yourself. Well, they'll go to hell. Then you...
Leatherette.
Wom. Fred, won't you please think of your children?
Leatherette.
It's not too hard to keep your kids away from the Dom scene. In my experience, raising two children.
Yeah, but they're on, just on social media trying to see what's going on in the Red Sox game.
Yeah, they have no access to anything else online.
Absolutely not.
It would just be from the Red Sox. And knowing the natural curiosity of my teen children, they'd certainly go, "What's BDSM?" and then look it up. They have that intellectual curiosity.
Clearly, it's Big Dom Smith moments.
Yeah, right. They would go, "Well, that's got to mean something else. I have to find out. Let's do some research." That sounds exactly like most teenagers. Let's do some research. Dad, what's BDSM mean?
Says it right there.
I have an intellectual curiosity, Dad. Come on, tell me, Dad, what's BDSM?
That's it.
Yes.
That's when the show Billions I thought was going to be and stay interesting at the very beginning when you see Paul Giamatti getting in all kinds of weird stuff. And then it turned almost Entourage-like to the point where I did watch until the end of it, but it wasn't easy.
Did they tie in the BDSM stuff with Paul Giamatti? Like, did it, or was it just there to shock?
I think it was just there to show that these characters are going to be multifaceted and nothing will be as it seems, at least on the Law and Order front or that side of the series.
All right.
But it was cool. It's something that I didn't need necessarily explored. I just like the fact that it wasn't really explained. It was just like, oh, well, this is going to be a weird show.
I'm taking it that you've never been into the serious BDSM scene, but have you ever had a partner that wanted you to be dominant, not necessarily in a physical way, but to be Sure. So have I. It seems to be almost common.
Yeah.
Because when you're with an alpha like the T, I mean, you need him to take charge.
But they're acting like a cuck. And you're like, come on, let your true alpha nature come out. Why are you being so submissive?
I'm like, I want to sit in the corner. I want to watch you with other people.
A BJ Upton contract, which is $75 million for 5 years. Your thoughts?
I tell you, that voice, that is Godfather Pacino versus Scent of a Woman Pacino.
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah. Your voice changes when you're on the radio. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more.
back and relax at the Sunset Tiki Bar and Grill, featuring award-winning cocktails and live entertainment nightly. Check them out at sunsettiki.com.
From the Town Clear Tire Studios, the only place to hear the local call of the game is right WBC-FM and HD Boston. Boston's home for sports. 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Real honest-to-goodness preseason football tonight at Gillette Stadium. It is a 7 o'clock kickoff as the Carolina Panthers are in town to take on the Patriots. Jerod Mayo said this week, everyone on the team who's healthy enough to play will play. Bob Socci, Phil Perry will have the call tonight starting at 7. Pre-game coverage here on the Sports Hub begins at 4 o'clock. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh yesterday suspended by the NCAA for 4 years for recruiting violations and unethical conduct while at Michigan. He's with the Chargers now, so it really doesn't matter. But Michigan previously accepted 3 years of probation and paid a fine over those violations. Harbaugh has denied any wrongdoing. Red Sox dropped the final game of their series in Kansas City last night, 8-4, so they're back to a game and a half out of the third wild card spot behind those same Royals. Team announcing yesterday, Tyler O'Neill back on the injured list. He's got an infection in his leg. Emmanuel Valdez was recalled from Worcester. Chris Martin activated off the IL yesterday, and Cam Boozer was optioned back to the Woo Sox as well. Sox off tonight. They'll take on the Astros for a 3-game series at Fenway starting tomorrow night. U.S. Olympic men's basketball team 2 wins away from gold. Semifinal matchup against Serbia today at 3 o'clock. France and Germany, the other semifinal at 11:30. Women's basketball team will play Australia tomorrow in a semifinal game that after they beat Nigeria yesterday. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. Check out their newest exhibit, The Vault. It's a collection of 71 unbelievable Celtics artifacts never assembled together before in one spot that speaks to the very soul of all Celtics fans. It's a must-see. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in about 30 minutes.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Now, more Tuncher and Hardy on the Sports.
Watch us on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube. You can also watch the show after it's over if that's how you want to consume it.
That's something that Heidecker might be into, in that I think you should leave sketch, except that's too mainstream.
It's way too mainstream.
Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get
Just quickly, I'm obsessed with this thing. It's Amoeba Music. It's a big record store in L.A., and they do What's in Your Bag, where they let musicians go around the store and they pick a few things out, and then they go into the office and they say why they picked it out. And generally, I'm fascinated by it. Even if I don't know who the guy is, I think it's great. And Dr. Demento, I think he might be dead, but Dr. Demento, before he died, obviously, was on it. And he was the only guy that was like looking for 78 RPM albums. He's like, they're very fragile. Look at this album. And they're just like, all right, dude, I get it. You love very obscure and very old. I understand. 78s. Oh, Jesus. All right. So this is something you've been doing, Hardy, for a long time. I feel a little guilty. I didn't know you did, but with the Patriots playing tonight in a game I'm actually quite interested in, Drake May, Joe Milton, Jerod Mayo's first game.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see all this stuff.
Well, it's all about having your peepers peeled.
Peeping.
And just what you're going to be on the lookout for tonight. So we just shoot it around and talking about, what's got your peepers peeled. Who gets the looky-loo tonight? And anything that you're going to have your eye on in this preseason game number 1 tonight, peepers peeled. I think Drake May probably gets the first looky-loo tonight if he's on the field. Giving him the looky-loo. Ryan Johnston, what do you think you're going to see?
From Drake May or
That's
just
right.
in general? From Drake May, I don't know. I haven't seen that other than, I've heard all the reports. I've heard him dropping some in the bucket. I've heard, that he may not look like a 3rd overall draft pick. I don't know. I want to see him for the first time in real live game action.
Wow. Peepers peeled on Drake May. Chalk it up on the board. We got 1 for Drake May. Fred, are you keeping your peepers peeled for Drake May tonight?
I am. I'm warm for his form.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm looking at that, but there's Hardy, if I may. There's someone else that I might take a gander at.
Oh.
Man by the name Joey Milton.
Hated by Joe Milton.
I am. And I'm always curious who's zooming who as well. You zooming me, you son of a bitch. Nah, I'm zooming you.
Yeah, let's not get the zooming mixed up here.
Fred, I'm sure you already know this, but earlier this week, Joe Milton cleared up the controversy over his actual nickname. It is not Bazooka Joe. It is Rocket, he says.
Well, they're both so original. Does he have the comedy to follow up the Bazooka Joe comments? But I am very much looking forward to New England seeing Joe Milton, to see him on a field with other players.
Now, do you think he's overall going to impress or disappoint?
Well, I heard a report, Hardy. I don't know if you heard this or not, but I heard a report he might actually beat out Drake May on the depth chart.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
That was a national report.
That was Colin Cowherd.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's when we started saying, what is the... Colin Cowherd's talented and obviously knows what he's doing, but what is when the return on investment on your take is not worth it? And with Joe Milton, you're telling the people that follow SEC football as well as fans of the New England Patriots that's not happening. But I am interested in him going out there, and it would even be funnier if he goes out, because he goes out, with the 3rd team. He plays in like the 4th quarter. And it's just a bunch of people that are never going to play in the NFL, and he throws like a pass on the run, like a 70-yard pass on the run, and then people are like, "Oh, see, I want him hanging around as long as possible." Joe Milton I'm very, as I've been proving all along, I'm fascinated with New England and their relationship with Joe Milton because it's going to be so disappointing. Is that Anita Baker?
Aretha Franklin.
Oh, well, I'd much rather sleep with Anita Baker.
A friend of mine...
Sweet love!
Friend of mine back in Detroit had a job where she had to, run documents and stuff to, various people and had to go into Aretha Franklin's home. This is probably 20 years ago. And not well kept, that home. A lot of takeout bags, a lot of pizza boxes, a lot of stuff thrown around. A very nice home. Aretha Franklin, did well financially, but was apparently not the best housekeeper.
Well, then who was eating all the pizza and takeout?
I'd have thought she could have afforded somebody to come in and tidy up once in a while.
Well, I just am questioning, what, did she have a bunch of house guests?
No, it may have been Aretha herself. So, all right. Who else tonight? Who's essentially... going to be popular in your ocular tonight. We've talked about a couple of the quarterbacks so far. Anybody on the defense there, Ryan Johnston?
Well, I want to see if Matthew Judon's on the field, since he, occasionally shows up for practice.
There's no chance. Is he?
Judon Mayo said everyone who's healthy is going to play, and I don't think that Matthew Judon has any injuries at this point.
If he explodes on the sideline, that would be fantastic. And they he has to get traded tomorrow morning because see him throwing a fit on the sidelines. Mayo tries to put him in and he just starts going crazy.
Or he doesn't dress, but he's on the sideline and he's just a total distraction.
He's on the phone.
Goofing around with guys, taking everybody off the... Yeah, it would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I could see that going very sideways. I don't know why they haven't drafted him yet.
Traded him.
Traded him yet. Drafted him. Haven't traded him yet.
I can't imagine he goes into the game. I mean, he's practiced, what, twice? Was he had 2 practices? Like real in-pads practices?
We don't count the one where the other day where he just stretched and then left.
That
right?
does not count.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I think I want to say maybe 3, but it's not more than that, I don't think.
Well, I will tell you this, is that if Gerard Mayo said everyone healthy is playing, that includes that includes Judon, and that if Judon doesn't play, it's going to be an issue. I mean, Gerard Mayo knew what he was saying when he said it, and maybe he was saying it to him. Maybe he's like, you're going to play. You're under contract, and you're going to play. If you don't play, you're going to be fined. And maybe that's what they have to do.
Matthew Judon maybe on the field tonight. I highly doubt it. I got one that's kind of off the board here. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Don't do it.
No, I'm going to do it right now because of the unorthodox nature of these preseason games. The fact that Scott Zolak will be on the TV calling those games with the McCourty brothers. It's a different way of looking at somebody because you're essentially
looking at you through the glass,
the broadcasting window, and seeing what Zoe and the McCourtys have to say and do for the game. I think that could be a good one tonight. So I will have my peepers peeled and my ears open for Zoe and the McCourtys. Can't wait to see what they bring to the table.
Now, you think that could be a disaster? Both of you. We were talking about this before the show.
Listen, I am biased as a person who has spent a decent chunk of their career as a play-by-play guy. Having no play-by-play guy in the booth, particularly in a game where people aren't going to be able to identify at least half the people that are on the field, I don't buy it. But
you made it because that is an interesting point.
I mean, if they're entertaining, that could keep people tuned in. But I also want to know what's going on and who's making good plays. And I will see if they can get that message across even as they're just having a discussion.
Because you make a good point. If you are watching the game, you're going to want to know who's doing what, and you're not going to know because you're going to not be familiar with any of these guys. And if there's no one there to say it,
right,
that's going to be a problem.
If they're just kind of having a chat and they're not really telling you what's happening in the game, which is the general idea of this, I think like the Manning cast is, kind of kicked this whole thing off. And I get why people might watch that when they're not interested in the game. But if you have an interest in the game, to me, the play-by-play guy still has a valuable role in that. As good as my TV is, I can't necessarily tell you who, the middle linebacker on Carolina is in the third quarter. And if he makes a play, I'd like to at least know his name.
Okay, I will go on record. I do not think it's going to be a disaster. And we all goof on Zoe. I goof on Zoe for his attention issues. But the one time he is focused in for 3 or 4 hours is during a football game. So he absolutely will be paying attention. Now, when it comes to the guys lower on the depth chart, that's where I think the McCourtys, both of them impress me as guys who will do their homework and be equipped to talk about anybody who's out there on the field who does something worthy of mention. So even if not all 3 of them are ready to talk about every single player on the roster, I bet them at least one of the McCourtys will be, and I don't think it'll be a disaster. I think it'll be entertaining.
All right. Well, we just gave you a lot of stuff, Hardy. We just gave the people a lot of stuff.
We didn't even mention the kickoffs.
But it was so fun the first time. I don't want to spoil it for people. If you didn't see the Hall of Fame game,
strap in. You're gonna have a hell of a night.
Well, it was canceled for rain, which shows you how important it was. But the Hall of Fame game, I mean, this new kickoff, the best was over the weekend when they leave the programming here at the station. They go to national, sports talk guys that are doing weekends. Not the cream of the crop. And hearing them horseshoe kickoff conversation for segment after segment after segment. Yeah. All right, it's different and it's interesting. It's interesting topic of conversation for 3 minutes. And then it's no longer interesting. Then you got to start talking about BDSM, which I'm learning a lot about. B, bondage and discipline.
Upset about calls or situations. When David Ross is behind the plate, he's so much more focused.
That's when the give kind of struck back. The DS in BDSM, dominance and submission. In the M, sadism and masochism.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Good stuff, guys.
Thank you, Hardy.
Wrapped it all up into one.
These songs make me feel old because this sounds like what 1940s music sounded to me like when I was a kid. That genre of music. Who's zooming who? Like Anita Baker, late Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't hold up that well. All right. Well, very good. And Hardy Completist, you got your Who's Zooming Who Peepers segment. We'll be back with our friend Dave Richard in just a moment.
Mars. This is great.
Here's a warning. You want to rip Alex Van Pelt before he even calls plays in a game? Pre-game tomorrow night.
Duluck and Bertrand. Weekday mornings at 10 on the Sports Hub. You're listening to Tucker and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
We're Tucker and Hardy, just real quick. Kendra put a story up on her Instagram, Kendra Middleton, from today that it says that they had a Kendra's post with you, Hardy.
Yeah.
Got taken down for community guidelines.
Oh.
And it says it looks like you helped arrange or encourage sexual activities is why they took it down. Said, wow, thanks Instagram, at Tucker and Hardy, she says. It goes against our community guidelines on adult sexual solicitation.
Yeah, well, as we know, that is not allowed on the internet and certainly on any social media platform, anything that encourages sexual activities. So I'm glad Instagram is on top of that. Can't have any of that.
Yeah, so I texted Kendra, I said, did the Instagram take your post down? And she said, yeah, but I appealed, and they said they'd put it back up, but she's in a sauna right now.
Oh.
I mean, you can't expect she's in a sauna.
Schwitzing.
Oh, schwitz. Oh! You ever go to the Detroit Athletic Club?
Nope.
You know what the Detroit Athletic Club workout is? Taking a schwitz and then playing a few hands of poker. That's a big workout at the Detroit Athletic Club. Dave Richard is the fantasy football guru at CBS Sports. There are 3 ways to link up with David Richard and his fantasy football advice. On X, you can go to @DaveRichard live on YouTube every morning by searching for Fantasy Football Today, and 3 times per week on Fantasy Football Today on CBS Sports Network. Check local listings, and Dave joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Dave, hello.
That sounds like my kind of athletic club, Fred.
Yeah, Detroit Athletic Club. It's beautiful inside. It's real old. It's downtown Detroit. I don't think anyone's ever actually moved their body there, unless it was to go into a hot tub. A lot of like old dudes just hanging out in the sauna in the steam room.
Now, the only thing I question is it poker or is it gin rummy that they sit down and play?
I think that it Jim Rummy 20 years ago. I think that game might have bridge before that.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the Flamingo Kid type of vibe.
Yeah, if you know the Blues Brothers when they're in the sauna, I think it's a lot of guys that look like that.
Nice,
like just a lot of dudes talking shop. All right, Dave. Dave Richard is fantasy football, and he's great at it. But he also watches more football than any other human being that I know. And I've been ostensibly doing sports talk radio for 15 years, at least on paper. And so I love asking Dave about what's going around in the NFL. Dave, let's take us to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to Western Pennsylvania. A very handsy camp there so far. What is the quarterback situation? Tomlin said that Russell Wilson is starting, but he's not going to play in this first preseason game. How do you read that quarterback situation?
I think it's an open competition, and I don't think it was 2 weeks ago, but 2 weeks ago, Russell Wilson hurt his calf, and Justin Fields started getting all the reps with the first team. And I would say in like the last week to maybe like 9 days, it's been mostly positive reports about how Justin Fields has been throwing the ball. And now the Steelers want to see how he does in a competitive situation. So on Friday against the Texans, I'll happen to be there. We're going to see what Justin Fields looks like in a Steelers uniform and if he's improved as a decision maker and as a passer from his days in Chicago. Listen, fantasy managers know Justin Fields, when he takes off and runs, the numbers are amazing. He's an awesome athlete. He's one of the fastest people in the league. He can do that. But it's passing where I know it sounds a little silly to say because DJ Moore had such a great year last year, but he's not very accurate by comparison to the top shelf quarterbacks around the league. And so has he improved in that regard? Is the offense something that actually agrees with him that was maybe different than what he did in Chicago? I don't know how much of the details and the nuance we'll see of the Arthur Smith experience in Pittsburgh on Friday, but we're just going to see how he looks. If he looks comfortable and says after the game that he feels great and maybe puts up a touchdown on one of his 2 or 3 drives, then I would expect that this competition will heat up. And I can't say with certainty that it's going to be Russell Wilson. Forget about the whole season, Fred. I'm talking about maybe week 1. It could be Justin Fields. So if you're one of these schlubs that's drafting this weekend, you might want to spend one of your last picks on Justin Fields. If he starts, you know what the upside is. And if he ends up not starting and he's a bench guy for the Steelers, you're cutting him. You're literally looking at taking him with one of your last 2 picks.
Dave, I didn't see a ton of Justin Fields last year, but what I saw, it seemed to be more execution than decision-making. Is that what it needs to improve, or is it both?
It's definitely both. The execution is part of it, and that's something that you could always talk about with the Bears coaches at the time. 2 years ago, he was the number 1 quarterback as far as red zone efficiency. They schemed the hell out of him, and he did a great job. But the problem was that whenever he was in a red zone play and the first read was taken away and he decided not to run on that specific play, he became kind of a mess. And so that's one of the things I'm looking for is, the Texans, it looks like they're going to play a lot of their defensive starters too. And they're going to get pressure on quarterbacks this year. That's a really good defense that no one's talking about. When they get pressure on Fields, I really want to see how he reacts to it. Does he just say, well, it's a preseason game, I don't care, and he just chucks the ball out of bounds? Does he try and make a play? Does he take off and run? These are all things that are going to be factors for me in how far he might have progressed since becoming a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Dave, let me ask you about the guy who's at the top of a lot of draft boards, Christian McCaffrey. He's going to miss the entire preseason dealing with a calf strain. We know some of his injury history. Should people be thinking twice about taking him first overall?
I'm not. And the reason why I'm not, first of all, I didn't expect to see him play in the preseason anyway. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's that stupid that he's going to do something like that. I don't think he's stupid at all. And Shanahan also said that it's not a pull, it's just a calf strain. And the smartest thing they can do is just take him off the field for a couple of weeks. He's such an integral part of their offense. And the truth is that the 49ers have a lot of concerns right now. You might have heard about what's going on with Brandon Ayuk and how he might be a Steeler sooner than later. But they also have their best offensive lineman is Trent Williams. He's holding out. They've got a couple of other injuries, not just at running back, but at wide receiver as well. They've got a lot of question marks on defense, so they have their hands full with issues. One of the easiest things that they could decide on is, we know what Christian McCaffrey can do. We know how important he is. Put him on ice until the regular season. He'll get in some practice. I'm totally fine taking Christian McCaffrey in the first overall pick, but do I want to take another 49ers running back? Yeah, I kind of do. If it's in round 10 and Elijah Mitchell's there, and I know Mitchell's hurt right now, but I would expect him to be ready for the start of the season, I might take a chance on him. Or I might just draft an extra running back with one of my first 8 picks. And so normally when you draft McCaffrey, you just lock yourself into him. You know that you're never going to not need him. And if you're without him, then you know your season's kind of over. But I think that it's a good idea to just kind of pad that position a little bit on draft day, maybe go a little later to draft a quarterback or a tight end if you miss out on one of the top tight ends. And you just kind of roll forward that way. Little heavier emphasis on running back if you take McCaffrey at 101.
Because a less reputable site than CBS, where you work, which is the best, now has Breece Hall as their number 1 pick from the Jets. And that seems even more dangerous than taking Christian McCaffrey.
Well, so here's the other thing. A lot of fantasy managers are not risk takers. They're very conservative by nature. They don't want to take chances with their fantasy team. And there's this old saying in fantasy where, you can't win your fantasy draft in round 1, but you can certainly lose it. And so if you're nervous about McCaffrey, he's 28 years old, he's coming off of 400 touches, now he's got a minor calf issue, then you could pass on him, and that's fine. And then you can't, if you're that nervous about McCaffrey, then you should be just as nervous about CeeDee Lamb, who's not at Cowboys camp, no insight on his holdout. If he shows up a week before the season, it's a bad track record of skill position players showing up a week before the season and then playing well that season. Josh Jacobs is a very recent example of that. In that situation, you're not taking either of those guys. You're looking at Tyreek Hill, who looks sensational for the Dolphins, I might add. I've been at their practices the last couple of days. Or you take Breece Hall. And if you take Breece Hall, you're understanding that the Jets' offensive line is better. Breece Hall had a monster season last year, but a lot of it had to do with the fact that he caught a ton of check down passes. And Aaron Rodgers will throw to Breece Hall, but I don't think he'll throw to Breece Hall as much as those crappy quarterbacks for the Jets did last year. And so that could impact Breece Hall matching what he did in 2023. But if you're risk averse, you don't want to take Christian McCaffrey, you don't want to deal with that headache. If it's a headache, then you're drafting a different headache, and that's a Jets running back.
I was going to ask you about Tyreek Hill because Dan told us you had been at the Dolphins camp. Yeah, I mean, because we're sitting here trying to figure out what the Patriots are going to do this year, and you start looking within the division, and like, you might be able to split with the Bills and split with the. I'm like, I don't know. The Dolphins seem like one of those teams you might be able to split with, but Tyreek Hill just changes everything.
He's one of several players that the Dolphins have that have really popped in the practices that I've been at. I've gone to 3 of their practices. But to me, the most surprising thing of all about the Dolphins is their pass rush is good, and they're practicing right now without their top 2 guys. Jalen Phillips is on the shelf. It looks like he's got a chance to be back in week 1. Bradley Chubb's probably not going to be back for a while. He might be a midseason addition for them. But they drafted Chop Robinson out of Penn State. And I know that some draftniks were a little nervous about how Chop Robinson would do in the pros. He's been borderline unstoppable, not only in inter-squad practices, but also 2 days against the Falcons offense. He especially the first day, he was crushing. He was really doing a great job. So that pass rush is going to be strong. Their secondary, they've got a lot of veterans there. Linebackers are pretty good. This is an underrated Dolphins defense. They might be better than people think. And if they get Jalen Phillips back before week 1, that's a defense I think fantasy managers could take with one of their last picks. Even though they play Jacksonville in week 1, they might put up some pretty good numbers there. I would be a little nervous if I were the Patriots. They're going to have their hands full with that pass rush.
All right. You're saying the Patriots could lose?
They could lose both games, Fred. Both times they play the Dolphins
in the division. Wait, hold on. Who do they play in week 18? They play Buffalo. Yeah, if Buffalo needs that game in week 18, they might go 0-6 in the East.
Out of your rankings, do you have a Patriot in the top 100?
Oh yeah, Ramondre Stevenson will be there. Just by nature of workload, talent. The fact that they'll want to run the football and try and take some pressure off of whatever it is that their passing game is. He's in that mix. He's not somebody that I'm not excited to draft Ramondre Stevenson. I draft with people that take him in round 5. I think that's too soon. I look at him as like a borderline round 6, 7 pick. To give you an idea, Aaron Jones went to Minnesota. He's 30 plus years old. He's got an injury track record. I'm taking him ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, I'm not very excited about Ramondre, but he's going to get work, and if he stays healthy, he'll be fairly productive all year.
And just 2 real quick questions. I saw that you had tweeted out concerns about Bijan Robinson from Atlanta. He's splitting carries, or were you joking?
No, that's legit. He was splitting practice snaps with Tyler Algier, and I would imagine that he will lose some snaps from game to game to Algier. But he cleared it up in a radio interview this week that that's by design in practice, just not to put too much on his plate. He was either, it depends on where you look. By my count, Fred, he led the Falcons in targets over 2 days of practice. So, and that's just one area where Tyler Algier can't compete. Bijan Robinson's a first-round pick.
All right, and finally, Puka Nacua was a sensation last year, but he in fantasy football, I've seen is dropping down. Some people don't have him as high as I thought he would be. Do you think that he's going to have a sophomore situation?
No, I think he's going to be fine. They don't seem very concerned. They're kind of taking the same approach as the Niners are with McCaffrey, where they know what they have in Nacua. Just let him rest and let him get ready for week 1 against Detroit. If you see Puka Nacua in round 2, you should take Puka Nacua in round 2. He's still the Rams receiver I'd rather have.
Okay. You'd rather have him than Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, and I like Kupp. I want Kupp as well, but he's a little older. I don't think he's going to work as far downfield as Nacua will. And there's also another concern in LA with their offensive line and how healthy they'll be for the start of the season. And that's a linchpin for them. If they can't protect Matthew Stafford, that offense could collapse.
All right. Well, listen, Dave Richard, it's very exciting. CBS Sports Network. You can find him on the Twitter there at Dave Richard, and You can find him on YouTube, CBS Sports Network. Thank you, Dave. We appreciate it.
Now all I can think about is going for a schwitz. So thank you guys very much for that.
Oh, my friend. Really reward yourself with a nice, gross steam room with naked guys stretching.
Yes.
All right.
That's what I'm going for, Fred.
Well, listen, when I used to go to the Y, which I do not do anymore, there would be people that would be visibly bending over, stretching in the steam room. They felt that the steam could get things real loose. Oh, and it was not a large one.
With sacks hanging to their knees, I'm sure.
Oh, well,
my God.
If I contend, if you were in a war, you are incredibly comfortable naked because you've been in every scenario with other men. And so, like, if you've been in a war.
You've been in a war or you've been a professional athlete. Those are, like, kind of the two
these
segments of society where nudity is still allowed and encouraged.
Yeah, most of the guys I see don't look like professional athletes, but they definitely could have been in old war, like Korea.
So all kinds of scars and stretch marks and all that stuff.
It's more of you're real focused on the scrotum because of its length. Is what I'm saying. All right, Dave, thank you so much.
Just put on display when one foot goes up on the bench that you're sitting on.
Yeah. Or shaving nude. Like, I don't know why you have to shave without a towel on. Like, you love it. Or sitting on the communal couch nude watching TV. That's something else they did at the Y.
These might have been the worst moments that I've ever shared with you on the air, Fred.
All right. Well, Dave, listen,
It's a long season.
Not all of us live in our little bubble of fantasy. Some of us have to get out there and see some naked old dudes. All right. Thank you, Dave. We appreciate it.
I'm leaving. Thanks, Fred. Bye.
All right, thank you. There you go. Very uncomfortable, Dave. The why there was a vinyl or like say leather couch, like was probably legit 30 years old, and these dudes would just sit on it naked. And you're thinking like, how many people before you, like you, had to have seen other naked dudes on it and say, I'm going to be the guy who's this naked on it. So it's like one of those things that passes on.
And then having to just peel yourself off of it because, like, you know, if you're sitting on a vinyl couch, any skin contact is just going to like meld to that thing.
And do you think the maintenance guy at the Y's giving that thing a good scrub down every night?
Every night.
No, I'm going to say that's never
probably
been
3-4 times a day.
Yeah, it was too much.
Might be in there sniffing it.
Huh?
You flip the cushions over, it's fine.
Even after a Poppy pees on it?
Poppy's a little sloppy.
All right, very good. We will be back in just a moment. Here are your headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
The Patriots...
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy as the countdown for the Patriots preseason is underway. What an exciting time to be alive as we get to see Joe Milton finally in pads, throwing the ball against real competition.
I saw a little bit of him at the one camp that I went to, but the arm in person, I don't know that we're going to get it on display tonight. We don't know how much of Milton you're actually going to see. But just to watch the circus aspect of that arm is, far and away his quality. That's his thing. It's that cannon of an arm. If he completes one pass, people are going to start losing their minds, though, and thinking like, hey, why not? Why not? Let's give that a try.
And then Coward can do his victory lap that he finally wins. That he has won the day. Joe Milton has outplayed Drake May. Even though Joe Milton's like 14 years older than him and has 6 years of major college experience.
See him tomorrow sitting on his giant throne overlooking the studio and
Absolutely.
looking down at his guests and saying, I told you so.
And he's got the woman in the studio and he's like, pish posh, woman. I don't need you on a debate show. Did you hear about Skip Bayless? Skip Bayless is out at Fox Sports, which was stunning to all of us, because every day when at 10 o'clock in the morning when I'm watching TV, I'm like, "Where's Skip Bayless?" And they're apparently they believe their news star is the guy with the big nose. He's the long hair and big nose.
Oh yeah.
He was courtside during like the NBA Finals. He's a big shot. I can't remember his name. But so they said to you, Skip, you've been with us for 7 long years. Would you like to say something before you leave? And he said, in reports are that he was too hurt. He was too hurt that he was being run out, and he blames the network for the breaking apart of his relationship with Shannon Sharpe.
By all indications, he had everything to do with breaking his relationship with Shannon Sharpe. And I don't think Shannon Sharpe is, always right or even the most stable individual, but that seems to be all on Skip.
Shannon Sharpe was always great when he did our show. He got it. And we would just take calls and put him on with Shannon, and they would call him like a horse-looking guy and this, that, and he would be like, the horse is the most majestic of all animals. Like, he was great. Like, I see what they see in Shannon Sharpe. Like, he's pretty funny, and he is self-effacing when he needs to be. I don't care for those debate shows. I don't like the idea that you come in with an opinion and then you're going to debate the opinion, and that's just it all day. I find that to be tiresome because I just don't care enough.
Yeah, it's so like predetermined. It's the best arguments happen organically when you find out in the moment that somebody feels a way that you just find ridiculous. But because it's television and because they have constraints in time and they've got other programs to think about, they have to know what they're going to say going in. So, yeah, it does seem contrived.
Yeah, Hardy's got all these theories about World War II, things that just didn't happen, that he insists upon. Oh, did it? Oh, did it? That's what they're telling you. That's what I always have to say to Hardy.
Sheep.
Just listening to what you're told. You know what, the one that pardon the interruption, that seems like they didn't go in like necessarily to debate. Like one Wilbon will ask Kornheiser like his opinion on something, and then Kornheiser will give it, and like they're not necessarily arguing to argue, and they seem like they know each other pretty well.
Yeah,
that's
they were
the first
friends
one.
for years. They were, co-workers who like legendary conversations in the Washington Post newsroom, supposedly.
Exactly. So, like, that is organic, and I think a very good. I'd never see it.
I don't see it that much either, but it's one of those shows that's been on for so long, and you know the shtick, you know what they're going to do, and every time I turn it on, even as just for a minute or two, not only am I not annoyed by it, I like it. I enjoyed the time I spend watching.
Well, the best thing I heard about these shows is I'm like, why are they all on at 10 in the morning? Why are they all on at like terrible times a day when no one's watching television, where they just shove crap on? Like, it's infomercial time. And the reason that I was given is, well, so they can use it throughout the day.
Right.
And it's true because if you listen to like ESPN or watch ESPN on the way in, like if you get up really early in the morning, it's just peppered with
They
their
need Stephen A. to
personalities.
say something at 9 a.m. that they can then
carry
talk
all-
about at noon and 1 and 2 and 3. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
it's like, wait, we just play the Stephen A. soundbite, and that gives us a whole segment.
And that's why they pay him so much money. And now I kind of get the whole formula is that, Stephen A. Smith, great. But the reason you get Stephen A. Smith is not so much that people are going to watch him live. It's that he's going to say something that they'll be able to repeat throughout the day, or they'll be able to put up on socials. And this is what they're going to run with. And also, I love Tony Kornheiser because he bagged out of Monday Night Football because he was so afraid to fly.
Is that why?
Yeah, and he took Xanax, which he said he had to stop at every water. This was, years ago, every water fountain at the airport and pop another Xanax or Valium. And I'm like, how could you take that much Valium and care about anything? Like if you gave me like a bottle of Valium and said like fly anywhere, I'd be fine. And I'm not. I contend that no one really likes flying.
I feel like that might have just been a nice excuse because they were going to.
Oh, he's
move him
deathly afraid to fly.
I know. I understand that, as John Madden was, but they can figure it out if if you're making millions of dollars to do Monday Night Football, you figure that out. I'm thinking. It's like we try this as the experiment. It's not necessarily working.
No, I get it.
Let's give Tony a soft exit here.
I get it, but you don't believe that he was at least it factored into the decision that he was such a pain in the ass.
Oh, sure.
That like the whole thing. I know what you're saying. Like, look, if he was John Gruden, like when Gruden was at his height. If they're going to find a way.
If half the people tuning into Monday Night Football are tuning in because of Kornheiser, it's like, you're not leaving.
Yeah,
we'll get you there.
I'm not that naive. I understand that. But regardless, say he got fired and it was just his excuse. The idea that he used that as his excuse, I find to be just the greatest. Like, I hate flying. Like, and he would admit, he would take, like, couldn't ESPN, they could just Mr. Tia on B.A. Baracus. Like, couldn't they just give you, couldn't they just stick you with something and put you in a private plane?
Knock him out, carry him on the plane?
I never liked that they did that to B.A. Baracus. I thought that because they took advantage of his trust on more than one occasion.
Well, there's a lot of sentiment for that. There is, I want to be sedated and that came from D.D. Ramon being on a plane and they wouldn't give him any drinks. So he was like flipping out and he was out of drugs. That's where I want to be sedated came from. He got off the plane and thought about it. Yeah. So there is this history of people on airlines wanting to be completely sedated. I'll tell you, if you could put me on a private plane, which Boomer took, and he was doing Westwood One, so if they can afford that.
Well, hold on, let me correct you. If we could put you on a private plane again.
I've never been on a private plane.
Oh, Freddie, please.
I swear to God I haven't. You would think I had based on how cool I am.
Right. And the money.
So much money.
I just stumbled across a video, the 12 ways to get B.A. Baracus on board a plane.
All right, save it. Save it.
There it is. What were we going to do at 9 o'clock?
Well, now I know. Now I know. All right. But seriously, if you would just tell me, like, I'm going to inject you with something, it's going to knock you out, and then you'll wake up where you're supposed to be, I take it every time. Even if people were doing stuff
Does
to me
it
when I was
matter
passed
how
out.
you're going to wake up and what you're going to feel like when you wake up?
Yeah, but like after a colonoscopy, you don't feel bad.
Okay, well, that's the answer. If you told me take any trip, go somewhere, do something, you're gonna sleep through it. How am I gonna feel when I wake up? Like you felt after your colonoscopy. Done.
Yeah.
That's the best I've felt in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
that
it's
day.
the best sleep you're gonna get. And they gave that to Michael Jackson every night. That's exactly propofol. What the hell was it? Propofol. It was propofol.
Yeah.
They gave it to him every night, and he died strangely.
Huh.
When you're depressing your system like that, night after night after night, to literally like probably 5 beats a minute.
His milk. That's what he called it. Need my milk.
No, that's not all. That's not all he called milk.
Brad.
No. He also called it Baba. That's what he called milk. That's what I was saying. What did you think I was referring to?
Fred.
Why would he care about milk? That didn't seem to be his interest. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
He was married. He had children.
We'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Touch Your...
Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com and get 15% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, now open in Franklin, Billerica, and Peabody.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, Celtics, the Patriots, the Bruins, and the Revolution play here. WBC-FM at HD Boston, 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Preseason gets underway for the Patriots tonight at Gillette Stadium. Carolina Panthers will be in town. Head coach Judon Mayo said he expects everyone who's healthy enough to play will see the field tonight. We'll have pregame coverage here on the Sports Hub starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Kickoff at 7. Bob Socci will be joined on the call by Phil Perry tonight with Zoe over on the TV side. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh gets a 4-year show cause order from the NCAA, meaning he is barred from coaching college athletics until at least 2028. Of course, he's now in the NFL, but they said that while at Michigan, Harbaugh violated recruiting rules, engaged in unethical conduct. Michigan accepted a 3-year probation period and paid a fine over those violations. Red Sox dropped the final game of their series in Kansas City last night 8-4, so they're now once again a game and a half behind the Royals for the last wild card spot. They're back at Fenway tomorrow to start a 3-game series against the Astros after a day off today. U.S. Olympic men's basketball team plays a semifinal matchup against Serbia today, 3 p.m. tip-off. France against Germany in the other semi at 11:30. Women's basketball team advanced past Nigeria in the quarterfinals yesterday. Their semifinal matchup will be against Australia tomorrow. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the 99 Restaurants and the Prime Rib Dinner at the 99, available every Friday and Saturday after 4 p.m. and all day Sunday. 16 ounces of slow-roasted USDA choice prime rib with 2 sides. You gotta love the nines. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Now, more Tuncher and Hardy on The Sports Hub.
Everybody, you hear Toucher and Hardy. Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us every morning on YouTube. Simply search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe. That is what you shall do. And we were talking about how Tony Kornheiser, we're talking about how Skip Bayless is no longer on Fox Sports. I hope he makes the move like Jim Rome does and goes to Twitter.
He had the opportunity to do a farewell, and he chose not to.
That's what I was saying.
So distraught over being kicked off of the show, he decided he would just leave without saying anything.
And didn't he owe it to us as long-term fans, the people
to all 50,000 people who watch that show every day?
To everyone at the airport that would see it with just closed captioning on or no closed captioning at all. Again, those shows, I've made the point several times and you've all sent me to the audience. Many of you have sent me evidence of yourselves being at airport bars. I say these shows exist to be on at airport bars because no one's home watching TV at 10 in the morning. And not even us. Now, you make that 11 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon when Seinfeld comes on Comedy Central, we're talking about a different thing. And then we got into Tony Kornheiser, and even if it's not exactly why, the excuse that Tony Kornheiser was off Monday Night Football was that he was so afraid to fly that he wouldn't fly anymore, which I really appreciated, even though he would say he would take like $1 million Valium before he flew, which I don't understand how you could still be nervous. But listen, everyone has their own neuroses, myself included. I am the last person that could judge anyone for that. But I brought up B.A. Baracus. The A-Team was a show from our youth where it was a bunch of Vietnam vets that got together to be guns for hire. Now, no one ever died on the A-Team. And how do you know that no one ever died? Is because there would be cool crashes, but then they would show the people get out. Now, if the A team had made some sort of George Papard, who played the head of the whole operation, and his name was Hannibal. I'm kidding. His name was Hannibal. He feasted on the meat of his enemies.
But they didn't show that.
No, Hannibal. So they would blow up stuff a lot. But what they would do is, before the place blew up, they would show everyone that was inside scatter.
Right.
And then they would get blown away.
So Hannibal would take the cigar out of his mouth and say, I love it when a plan comes together.
And they had a guy named Murdoch who was the wild card. He was a pilot. He'd gone crazy. He had such bad PTSD from Nam. He had gone bananas.
Get it?
No, that's seriously what
I was going to say, but that's why it was funny.
Yeah,
because he had post-traumatic stress disorder from Vietnam.
It took well, you know how MASH started off as a movie? The Deer Hunter became the A-Team. That was what they did. And in the pilot, they do the Mao, and it's a lot of fun. George Papard played the Christopher Walken character. It was a lot of fun.
You ever watch The Deer Hunter?
I've seen all I needed to see, which is the scene where they go Mao.
Oh, well, yeah, but try and watch the first 30 minutes with the wedding and the drunkenness, and it's like at some point I'm like, where's this? When's this great movie going to start?
Yeah,
I can't watch this.
I've never read, because I got pretty interested in how bad it was, and I'm starting to read reviews, and people are looking back going, and it was not highly reviewed when it came out. Like, I went through a whole rabbit hole of it. Like, Roger Ebert didn't like it. A lot of people were saying it was boring. So, to get B.A. Baracus, who was Mr. T, and you don't understand the sensation that was Mr. T. There was a year there where Mr. T was omnipresent. He had a cartoon,
he was one of
cereal,
the biggest stars in the world.
Cartoon, cereal, WrestleMania, like everything.
He was in the main event of WrestleMania 1.
All right, but before all that, the first time I saw Mr. T, and this is something like the early memory, and I have verified it, I remember watching the TV show Games People Play. And we were watching it as a family because, you got the one TV, and we're just sitting there watching Games People Play. And one of the games on the show was a bouncer competition, like the world's toughest bouncer. And they have actual bouncers from various bars around the country compete in this thing. And at the last obstacle they had to get through was crash through a door and ring a bell. And we're sitting there watching it, and here comes this guy with this mohawk, and it was Mr. T, who was a bouncer in Chicago and participating in this thing, and he crashes through the door, obviously on a timer he's going to win the competition, and he goes to grab the string of the bell. And it's so weird how the things that you remember, right? I remember him grabbing the string of the bell, and he just broke the whole thing. He pulled the bell off the stand, and I remember me, mom, sister, dad watching and going, oh, that's a legitimately bad man. That's not some work that we're watching for early 80s television. That guy is for real.
And Sly Stallone was watching, and that's how Mr. T ended up in Rocky III.
I think that's pretty close.
No, it is.
Yeah.
That is how he cast Mr. T. He saw him on TV and went, that guy's a star. I'm putting him in my movie.
And but it was one of those moments that it's like you don't get that a lot anymore, where it's like, everyone's watching Games People Play. Yeah, because there are three things on.
Right.
We're all watching it. Us in our family room in Troy, Michigan, and Sylvester Stallone in Hollywood, and we all said the same thing. Wow, that's a man. That's a star. And that's where it started for him.
Yeah, he was a bouncer in Chicago, and he would play those tough man competitions. He would be in those tough man competitions.
He was a bodyguard for Leon Spinks.
Oh, wow. Leon Spinks, Johnny Knoxville has a tattoo of that man's face. All right, so... they would have to drug him to get on a plane.
The running gag of the show was B.A. was deathly afraid of flying.
And
they always
so
had
tough.
They had to fly to get places.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
it showed his vulnerability, Fred.
They were soldiers of fortune.
And so someone has posted a video of 12 different ways that they used to try to get B.A. Baracus on a plane.
Okay.
Now, Hardy, you mentioned Oftentimes it seemed to be they would drug him against his will.
Roofies. Yes.
Yeah.
No, not roofies. It was a they would roofie him sometimes. Go ahead.
I'm questioning this scientifically because one of the clips that I saw in scrolling through this video, where he is getting drugged, he is behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
Okay. And Hannibal in the back seat pulls out a syringe and pulls out a little vial and loads it up and sticks it right in his the back of his shoulder.
Okay. That's not even going in a vein.
But the vial is Novocaine. It is labeled Novocaine. It is also, I believe, misspelled, but it is Novocaine.
Well, listen, his shoulder is going to go to sleep. There's no question about that.
The entire BA went to sleep. He collapsed. They had him pull over, and shortly thereafter he collapsed, and they dragged him onto the plane. But here is a list of some of the ways that they got him on the plane.
All right.
Hannibal hit him in the back of the head with an oar.
Well, that's I mean,
just knocked him out. Hannibal also hit him in the back of the head with a butt of a gun. Just pistol whipped him.
Okay, so that as we know, that works. Now, sometimes you can take it too far, as Don King proved. You can actually pistol whip a man to death, as he did in Cleveland.
I was pistol whipped.
Yeah, Fred was pistol whipped, hospitalized as a result.
My mother's screaming and yelling at me. I was pistol whipped.
They weren't trying to get you on a plane at the time?
No. They were trying to get me on a train.
Oh.
But do you know what Fred's mother was screaming at him? What did you do to deserve this? What did you do?
What did you do? What did you do? Freddie, what did you do? Oh, God, what'd you do?
In the drug category, we've got they slipped him some fake air sick pills to knock him out.
You think he'd be wise once they've hit him over the head a few times?
Well, wait
don't take the pills.
Maybe he wouldn't even hang out with those guys anymore. You hit me with an oar.
So BA was apparently not the brightest guy because in one episode they spiked his burger with some sort of drug that would knock him out, and in a subsequent episode they tried to do it again, and he fell for it again. He called him out and said, "Well, wait a minute, I know this trick. You've put something in my burger," and so naturally they switched burgers, and guess what? The old switcheroo. Out he went.
You know who knew how to switch the burgers? Face. There's no question about it. Face was like the handsome grifter.
Well, the handsome grifter. Very good. I can't do better than that.
We mentioned the Novocaine shot while driving. He was they got him onto a little private plane. And he was very, very nervous, and he was having trouble breathing, so they grabbed the oxygen mask and put it on him. Wasn't oxygen in there. Out like a light.
What was it?
How do you switch that out?
Like sleeping gas. Well, it was a private plane. It wasn't like a big commercial airliner. It was like a four-seater.
No, and it couldn't explode. What? You want to put all kinds of gases on a plane. Is there a gas that could knock you out?
Oh, sure.
Enough nitrous?
No, that's not going to knock you out. What could knock you out?
I've tried it.
You haven't?
Well, isn't that what they get you?
You go to the dentist.
It doesn't knock you out, though.
It knocked me out when they used to give when I've had it before.
You might be remembering it. I guess when I was a kid and my body was virgin.
Well, and he was, he's
a large individual. I just don't know. I'm not saying there isn't, but I don't think nitrous would knock you out. Like it would just knock you out like on a plane. It might get you loopy. Let's put it this way. My daughter had dental surgery, and nitrous didn't do anything. She was scared enough that the nitrous was not having an effect at all. Go ahead.
They called it the old mosquito trick, where he got it. They, again, gave him a jab in his back and pretended he had just gotten bit by a giant mosquito.
Which is pretty unnecessary because you've already administered the drug.
Fred, nitrous oxide is not intended to knock you out and not intended to make a person unconscious. There's a chance you could become so relaxed that you actually doze off. So, you are correct.
You took a snooze.
Yeah, you are correct. Points to you.
Finally.
The effects of nitrous oxide.
They also they hypnotized him in one episode.
Oh.
They had it was one of the guest stars.
It doesn't work.
Who gave him hypnosis.
Give me your shoes.
I had a hypnotist on the Sports Hub Golf Club many years ago. Imagine you're hitting your golfing ball very, very far.
But you were hypnotized and it worked.
I wasn't even supposed to be hypnotized. I was just sitting at one of those shows, a hypnosis show. And they said, we brought 5 people up on stage, and he said, everyone else in the audience, just listen to what I'm saying, and this might work for you too. And I went out. I was gone.
That would be the best.
It was, other than my colonoscopy, the most relaxed I've ever felt without actually being asleep.
I have also been hypnotized at one of those shows, but I was actually on stage, for it. Like I wasn't just sitting in the audience.
And how did it feel?
Yeah.
It was like I was really, really hammered because no inhibition. Like I was kind of aware of what I was doing, but it didn't even think twice about what he was making me do.
And that's how I describe it too. Like I knew exactly. I had total control. I just didn't care. And the way he kept getting me to do this stuff is he said, if you just get up here, and very politically incorrect, I'll say it again because this is the one thing I truly remember, I want you to sing Achy Breaky Heart in Japanese. And if you do this for these people, you can go back to sleep. And
Okay,
I said,
do it.
Okay.
How would it sound like?
I think you'd actually be good at it, Fred.
What would you do? Oh, because I do so many impressions. You can't even do that anymore. That'd be, yeah. All right. So, but okay. So what did he have you do?
There was a bunch of different stuff, but I gave a lap dance to one of our hockey players, like obviously fully clothed.
Was Zoe there?
Man, you were pretty heavy.
No.
Yeah, you guys got all in a circle.
Or maybe like one of them hazing situations.
Did
That's
you-
very homoerotic.
Did you like? How did he do it? Did you just feel like super? Like he just made you so calm? Was he talking in a super like calming manner, and you kind of just like lulled you?
Yeah, it was odd. I've actually done it twice. Like once we did it as a radio bit years and years ago, and it worked both times. It's like, you get you to concentrate, listen to my voice, and it's weird. You kind of drift off into like a sleepy mode, but wide awake, remembered everything that I did after the fact. I didn't question any of it. And what the guy, it was the same guy both times. Basically what he told me is, like, I can't really get you to do, like, I couldn't get you to go rob a bank.
Right.
I couldn't make you do something that you wouldn't otherwise do, but I can kind of lower your inhibitions a little bit, and you won't question some of the things that I'm going to ask you to do.
There was one thing that I wouldn't do. He wanted me to take my shirt off and do a lap dance for somebody, but I was there with a girl I was dating, and she was a fiery one. She was very, very, jealous. And I told the guy on stage, I'm like, I can't, my girlfriend over there, she'll go nuts. She'll kill everybody. I can't do that. I won't do it. So you're right that you will stop yourself from doing something that you wouldn't ordinarily do.
Is it? And you don't think the crowd had something to do with it? You think even if you were not in front of a crowd, the performance aspect?
I'm not like that at all, though. I don't put on performances.
Fred,
I will tell you. So one of the radio bits that we did, or the radio bit that we did with this guy, one of the things that he had me do, we were in like a sidewalk studio, like overlooking the street. He literally had me run out the door and yell, "The British are coming," like to passersby and cars going by and things like that. It was not something like, if you told me to do that, I'd tell you to go F yourself. No, I'm not doing that.
I hear the skepticism in your voice, Fred. I was the same way.
There's no skepticism. What I'm interested, no, I actually am not skeptical at all about what you're saying. I'm fascinated by it because if it shows you the power of suggestion, A. B, that if someone's words and manner can make you do some things that you normally wouldn't do, that's fascinating. And if you guys know it, corporations and governments have to know it.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
And so if they can make you lower your inhibitions and have you do something that you normally wouldn't do, but there is a limit to what you would do. If I was Coke, I would be like, why are we not doing this? Like, find a way to work this into things. I mean, if it is interesting, without any other substance, without any foreign substance, without adding anything to change your personality on a neural level or anything in your body, just words and the way that they're spoken can put you in that kind of state
for a while too.
Yeah,
like it was the first time I did it, it was over an hour.
Well, there's a guy in Hollywood that works out of a garage that Ron White, Matthew Perry, all these guys pay. I think it's like $20,000 to, and he supposedly gets you to stop smoking. Like it works. Like they insist on it. Like I've heard so many celebrities talk about this one guy. It's always that he's like this bummy guy. He does it out of his garage. It's like a tremendous amount of money, but it works. Like it's just fascinating. And maybe underdeveloped. Seriously. I'm hearing other things about that. Very quickly, 1 second. I just was listening to a woman yesterday, and she was saying, like, when you have cancer and it goes away, they go, you're in remission. But if someone who never had cancer went in and got the same results, they'd say, you don't have cancer. So the wording of remission gives the patient the perception that it could come back at any time. And this doctor believed that there was a mental physical relation to, like, you literally, your frame of mind and attitude, she thinks she can prove, can affect your health and your ability to recover from sickness and disease. Not cure yourself of diseases, but it is a factor.
So if you believe that you're cured as opposed to temporarily cured, you would be less likely to have your cancer come back.
And
That's
she has
the
a
idea.
and she has like she's a Harvard professor, and she has like 1 million. Look, I'm no expert on it. I just was listening to her, and she has 1 million examples of studies she's done that have been published where they can prove that there is a mind-body effect, is what she was saying. So this is all very interesting to me. You came at me at a hot time. I'm not skeptical at all. I very much believe you. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Let's do the email bit.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. You can email Hardy at 985thesportshub.com. You can email me, Toucher at 985thesportshub.com. You can follow Hardy on Twitter and Instagram at Hardy985, I believe. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Fred Toucher and the show at Toucher and Hardy. Here are some emails. Here's one. Good morning, Freddie T and Hardeezy. At the 6 a.m. hour, you were talking about Red Hot Chili Peppers and Anthony Kiedis. The Flea, Frusciante, and Chad Smith always drew me in whenever I hear the music. But a good riff or bass line can't hide the genius that Anthony Kiedis brings to a song. A perfect example is the single Around the World. You know, the song builds so much to start, but Kiedis knows how to fit it in seamlessly, spitting fire lines like, wake up the cake, it's the leg she's kissing me, as they do when they do in Sicily. Iconic line. And at the 2:40 mark, Kiedis really dives deep. He ties the song together at the third chorus by donning an Asian accent and spitting more lyrical flames. Ding, dang, dong, da, dong, da, ding, 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 ding. Why they give this guy, my guy Tony, the Mark Twain Award, he most certainly deserves. If you can find John Daly, does a thing about the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's Jondaly.
Oh, okay. Now,
yeah, and they got really mad at him and wanted it taken down. I mean, Anthony Kiedis, again, has no sense of humor when it has to do with him. This is from a guy named Jay, who I don't think has emailed us before. He said, once in a YMCA bathroom, my innocent eyes lay upon an elderly gentleman's bum. As this was happening, the air was scented with a cinnamon apple air freshener. Now, every time I smell that cinnamon scent, I flash back to the vision of that man's jiggly bottom.
Yeah.
He says giggly, but I think he meant jiggly.
Right.
Yeah.
Hardy, you should try the hypnotist on your guest on the Sports Hub Golf Club. Might take a few times, but he's used to the repeats. Listen, I don't think... I do need to reach out to Scott, though, about having him on the show on Sunday. Still have to do that. Been busy.
You've been busy?
I have been. A lot of stuff.
I mean, there's a lot of greenskeepers that need to be talked to.
I loved speaking with greenskeepers. You learn a lot about the golf course, and you have to understand the canvas with which you're working and playing on, Fred.
How often when you talk to a greenskeeper do you go, Cinderella story?
Oh, yeah, they love that.
It's
they
fun.
Love that gag. Oh, another email from Sarah from Everett.
Yeah, she emailed me, a weird one.
I took a mind and body class at Brookline High. One of the classes was called Rebirthing. We were hypnotized to remember being born. And then in quotes, Sarah says, that's my friend.
Wake up. Oh, that's my friend. But I had a different name for it. It was my hand.
The Joe Rogan podcast is really something else. There's no way someone listened to that whole thing. Yeah, I got one from Sarah from Everett. She says she's got a whole thing going on in her head. This was sent yesterday afternoon. Hi, Fred. I know
long after the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Goes, hi, Fred. I know you don't trust me. Sure. I think of you often, Sarah. Isn't this funny? But my stories are true, and I have a zillion. Let's be friends. New Edition song. 2 cassettes nice. In my first car were New Edition, Greatest Hits, and Cyndi Lauper. Girls just want to have fun. I can cover every music genre better than you can.
Oh.
Kabuki Girl, but she spells it wrong. Sucks, and the Descendants sound like Blink-182 in their late tears, yuck. Sarah had a few. Travis Barker is a great drummer.
Well, yesterday was Wednesday.
Yeah, Travis Barker is a great drummer. Listen to the Transplants self-titled album, Transplants. I have. It's awesome. I grew up. Thank you. You obviously, I mean, really, the Transplants are. I mean, if you haven't sat down, get ready to get your mind blown. They let their roadie sing. It was a favor that they did to the roadie of Rancid. That's literally what the band was. Tim from Rancid said, oh, hey, you're a roadie. Do you want to go do this thing that they're playing anything we make? Here we go. I grew up in Boston. Hardcore.my boyfriend at the time booked shows at the penalty box on Causeway. Now my lawyer, who lives in Weston, his uncle started Tang Records, Kurt Castle prick. I'm not a great storyteller because I get nervous, but I have great stories. Well, it sounds like it, Sarah. What a fun one that was. Here's one from Tim. Hi, Fred. I've been a listener since this EI show became entirely too privileged a white guy. I don't know how he would be so privileged. He can't make any more than I do. Sorry, I didn't give you a chance sooner, but but all that stuff they say in radio meetings about the listenership being fixated on a local voice is true. I didn't give you a chance because you were from Atlanta or Tennessee or Vegas or somewhere I can't remember. I don't know. I'm listening a couple hours a day for a couple years, and I have that completely fraudulent sense that I know you. Well, at least you know that, unlike Sarah, who assumes we have a relationship. You frequently mention books and articles that you've read. When you say you talk about what you read, I get the sense that you'd like to say more, but you hold back for fear the audience won't find it interesting. That is often a problem. I'm constantly, I want the audience to be interested. I have so much to say, but I have to hold it back. Yet when you do allow yourself to speak about the books you've been reading and the concepts you've been exploring, it brings out the best in you. The most introspective and thoughtful and genuine I've heard you be. You spoke a few months ago about great rock and roll books, especially Trouble Boys, the Replacements book. Have you read that already?
Nope.
Which I bought and read and enjoyed. And then he taught in high school. And he said you could put up Fred's reading list or slap the list up in time on that crappy Sports Hub website. It'd be the most readable thing I've ever seen on there. And maybe the only article not written by AI. Well, I can assure you they're not written by AI. You think that the AI could come up with, you have to have the fries at Sullivan's Castle Island with vinegar or don't?
Or don't. Yeah.
They're great either way?
Yeah.
That couldn't be AI.
AI would not do that. They couldn't come up with that.
It wouldn't make that mistake.
We were talking about NoFX and Fat Mike earlier. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes?
Yes, they're
You like them?
A punk cover band. I mean, they were funny, at first.
Yeah, I still, but like one of their songs popped on yesterday. And that is a band I listened to a lot, like 2 or 3 of the albums.
Dude from the Foo Fighters, isn't it?
Yeah, Chris Shiflett.
That's the guitar player, right? That's not Pat Smear. Yeah.
Yep. Him and a couple of dudes from Lagwagon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joey from Lagwagon, who's a great guy.
And I always wanted to see him live because they did put out the live album. It was Me First and the Gimme Gimmes ruined Johnny's bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
So like somebody's father thought it'd be a real hoot to have Me First and the Gimmes, as they call themselves, play his kid's bar mitzvah. And I mean, live they sound fantastic, but it's not like I don't think they properly toured.
No, they did. So what happened is Me First and the Gimme Gimmes would tour when NoFX was off the road. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes were a punk band that did songs like Me and Julio down by the school.
They do a great cover of the Seal song Crazy.
Yeah, they did that. And I hadn't heard that kind of stuff before. I'm sure bands had done it before. But they did tour, and they did tour with a full bar. And so Fat Mike, has a lot of money, so it was just an excuse to party from town to town and get it covered. So they would tour on stage with the full bar. I went out. Joey from Lagwagon was trying to sign this band Left Front Tire that I was friends with in Atlanta, American Pie 2 soundtrack, and he took us all out. I was a fan of Lagwagon. We got him so wasted, we got him back to the bus while they were leaving the outdoor venue. And that band was destroyed, just destroyed on the bus. Everywhere. It was just an excuse to do drugs and drink, basically, that whole band, that whole exercise.
That would have been fun. Freddie, you were talking about Mercedes Boy video the other day?
No, not the video. I was talking about being at University of Michigan baseball camp and having them ladies dance around. It was the first time I'd ever seen girls my age be that sexual.
Well, Joe says, let me tell you, summer of 87... must have been the same for you guys as it was for me. MTV had the Bangles, the Whitesnake videos, and Mercedes Boy going every hour. Let's just say as a 13-year-old, it was almost a religious awakening.
I spent a lot of time vacuuming my room.
Yeah, I would use MTV all the time to self-pleasure. It was almost my exclusive home for self-pleasure. If you throw in a remote control as well with Kari Wurr, I mean, that was a whole scene.
I mean, but this was just like fleeting moments on remote control. You didn't get...
No. She was on, like, for long periods of time. The fleeting moments in a video, like, if you're using Firehouse's Baby Don't Treat Me Bad, they're barely showing that blonde chick. You gotta almost pause it, tape it and pause it. No, remote control, that was a dance. That was a symphony. I didn't need long. It's a young man. I mean, we're talking 1987, 1988, 12, 13. Come on.
And a question for RJ. Are you disappointed that AEW has fallen so flat and is no longer any kind of competition for the WWE?
It keeps me up at night. It really does.
He won't even participate. Forget about the fact he won't read an email. He won't even.
I've got something to add to the conversation.
You've got it. You're going to do an email for
It's
the
not
email?
an email, but it is an important event that needs to be recognized today.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Today marks the 20th anniversary in the city of Chicago of an event that no one will ever forget, which is the time that...
Hold on. Let's say, Kid, you want to try and guess?
So we're talking August 8th, 2004.
Oh, that's not when Jerry Garcia died, because he died on August 9th of... that was a wonderful day.
Open Al Capone's vault.
No, that wasn't 20 years ago. 20 years ago, something happened in Chicago?
Something happened in Chicago today, 20 years ago, and I noticed something that was trending on Twitter, and I clicked to see why, and
It's
I
not
was
9/11.
told that it is a 20-year anniversary today.
It's not the 20th anniversary of 9/11. That was 3 years ago.
Think erotic.
Erotic in Chicago.
Yes.
20 years ago, erotic Chicago.
A large group of people involved in something that particularly Fred will be
Veruca Salt 10-year reunion concert.
No, what was it?
Today would be the day 20 years ago that Dave Matthews Band's bus emptied its septic tank on a bridge over the Chicago River as a tour group on a boat was going underneath.
Yeah, we call it the golden age. Let's paint this city brown. Very good.
Roughly 100 people on board got
we were in ecstasy.
Yeah.
Yes. They were treated like the miserable slime they are. You're welcome. All right. Very good. We'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Felger and Hardy.
Kamala Harris has selected, is it Tim Walz as her running mate?
Yes.
Okay. So, Fred, a similar story last week that I thought would anger and disappoint you. This one, I think, might make you feel a little bit better, in that Steve Martin apparently was approached about coming on to Saturday Night Live to portray Tim Walz. They have a similar look. Steve Martin is, of course, a multi-time host of Saturday Night Live.
I'm going to stop you here. Saturday Night Live's got to stop this. It's as someone who appreciates what they've meant to comedy, they got to stop.
They've got like 150 cast members. And one of them can't play Tim Walz?
And David Spade said why. Okay, the cast originally was 7 people, right? And they did very, very well for a very long time with a short cast, and that allowed people to become stars. That really helps the show. Eddie Murphy becomes a star, it saves the show. Dana Carvey becomes a star, it saves the show. You get Will Ferrell, he becomes a star, it saves the show. There's no stars on that show anymore. Really, there's not. They don't manufacture them anymore. There's no one on that cast that you can tell me is a star right now. No one. It's a fact. The update guys aren't stars. I mean, one's married to Scarlett Johansson, so he's got that going for him. But none of the... I mean, I'm not saying there's no one funny on it, but who would know? Because there's two... It's unfair to the franchise. They already have Maya Rudolph coming in to be Kamala Harris.
And this is what's going to make you happy. Steve Martin said no.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do it.
I understand. But the thing is that I don't know why they are going to these people. And if you're Maya Rudolph, wouldn't it be like the classy thing to say no? Like, I had my time on Saturday Night Live. I'm not going to do this anymore. Have you heard that? Check that song for swears, Daniel. Yeah, can you then take it out if you could? If you wouldn't mind.
Take it out.
I mean,
let's see it. By the way, Tony P in DC had a panic attack on TV this week.
Really?
Yeah, he was talking about it on his Instagram, but there's no video of it. It's like, show me the panic attack, Tony. If you're not going to show us the hog, show us the panic attack.
Well, I'm out on Tony P in DC. He got too. He sold out too hard.
He flew too close to the sun.
No, he did a commercial like it was. He did like his little thing, and then at the end, it was a commercial for something to bet on golf.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one. I thought you were talking about him picking up Duncan to go visit his grandmother's grave or whatever.
Well, that was funny. He picked up Duncan because everyone wants to use influencers now, but they don't realize that these influencers are morons. So what he did is this idiot, Tony P, who seems like a nice enough fellow, but he got
really nice.
He developed his following because he was so goofy that people started making comments in the comment section, and everyone was really funny on the same page. So Tony P had nothing to do with it. It was just him being goofy. So
the true entertainment was the comments.
So the brands reached out to Tony P, and they said, hey, you have a lot of followers. Will you start doing these ads? And like a moron, he went, okay. And he goes, I'm in Florida. I was very close to my grandparents. My grandmother is dead. So I got a Dunkin' iced coffee and a bunch of she loved iced coffee and munchkins. And I went and I took them down to the beach where we used to sit. And I had them for, because she's dead. #ad. And you're like, well, that's why you don't let influencers do this. Because it's stupid.
America mourns on Duncan.
But that's very good. And in fairness, that was on brand for Tony P, so I liked it. This last one, he's like, it was me watching. He goes, me watching golf, and it's him being silly, like watching golf. But he's like in on it, and at the end, it flashes for a gambling company, and I said, well, now he's faking his act to advertise for people. There's no reason for me to follow this anymore. It's no longer genuine. I can find some other uncomfortable stiff that people make fun of. Like you can't, if you are going to be popular on Instagram for that reason. Same goes with the guy from here with the gap in between his teeth that crapped himself at the marathon. You can't be in on it or it's no longer funny. Like you can't start selling ads that overtly and still have it be funny. like the clumsy Duncan thing is not great probably for Duncan, but was right on brand for Tony P. So I liked it. That's the thing is that, and I guarantee you, people are going to move away from influencers, like not Kim Kardashian and stuff, but just
the real
Joe
moral of the
Schmoes.
story is Duncan, everyone else, spend your money on us.
All right, I want to leave
Not
you with
Tony
this.
P.
This is what made Anthony Kiedis so mad. Thank you back there, guys, for getting this done. This is the comedian John Daly. This is not the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is only him. Only him. It's called Abracadabra, California, Bob, something like that. I'll leave you with this. Everyone have a great day. Bye.
Burning down the 405, man, I barely feel alive. Taking the exit for the 10. She told me she was my friend. I'm a bad baby jumper from here to Alabama. I'm playing a band called the Alabama Jammers. I'm sitting by Alabama, take a picture with your camera. I hope we don't get tricked by the Alabama scammer.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
If it's big and heavy and gotta go, contact the pros at Removal Pro. Removal Pro of New England specializes in the removal and installation of oil tanks of all shapes and sizes. Removal Pro will also take any size boiler, water heater, or furnace. Visit oilremovalpro.com.